morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you're at, ladies and gents. I am Kure Isagami, your resident tinker and Medarotter, and this is the Medarot News Network, bringing you all the latest developments and happenings with our favorite pet fighting robot series. Well, it looks like Medarot Day 2025 is finally upon us, folks, and might I say, even though it was fairly quiet as far as what the morning stream was concerned, it was still very, very exciting all the same and very pleasant of an experience of what was officially announced. Not just from the official stream, but also what we've been cooking here at Project Rising Beetle behind the scenes. So I am very excited for everything that will be officially talked about and mentioned here. Let me squeeze over just a little bit. There we go. I'm very excited for it, and I'm super happy to have all of you here with me as well to celebrate 28 years of our favorite pet fighting robots. But before I do get ahead of myself, though, I do have a number of I do have a couple of guests that will be going live with me as well, not just to talk about the news and the coverage in general, since there was an actual stream on the official channel this morning, but like I said, a number of things that we also were planning here in-house. So, before I do go any further, I am going to officially announce our guests for the afternoon that will be here on the workshop floor with me. Ruben, you've been here with me before, but Metal Chowman, you also are brand new to the workshop floor. It is a pleasure and a treat to have you two with me today. How are you doing, my friends?
I'm doing really well. Thank you for having me on. I greatly appreciate it.
It's an absolute pleasure to treat, like I said. It's so good to have you. Now, Ruben, like I said, you've been here on the workshop floor before, but how are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great. It's always fun coming back, and especially today on such an important day throughout our year, honestly.
Oh yeah, 100%. 100%, 100%. Now, like I said, Metal Chowman, you are brand new to the workshop floor. You have not been with me once before, so thank you so much for taking time out of your day to come say hello and hang out with us for a while. But I'm going to go ahead and start with you first. If you want to take a couple minutes just to kind of talk about who you are, what you do, favorite game, what's your name on the internet, basically? What do you do?
Well, first of all, hello, fellow non-data immortals. I'm Chalman. So a little bit about me is real life. I'm a game designer who also, in my spare time, I work on robots and I play video games. I do have my own channel, Metal's Wild Lab, and I do VTubing every so often. You generally would expect a lot of the mecha shenanigans and a little bit of space engineer shenaniganry from time to time. My favorite games are Phantasy Star Online, Space Engineers, and Medarot 2 Core.
Nice, nice. Good choices, honestly. I've been wanting to try to get into Space Engineers, but it's got so much you can do with it that if you don't know what to know going in, it can kind of throw you off.
It can, but once you do, there's so much cool stuff you can make with it, especially if you want to build like mecha or robots or spaceships or space stations. It's really cool.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. Well, wonderful, wonderful work, and thank you again so much. Go ahead and, if you don't mind, talking to me just a little bit on how long you've been doing that. Like, how long you've been doing the game dev, how long you've been doing the VTubing, how long have you been doing that?
In terms of game dev, oh boy. If we're going to talk about it in general, I think I started maybe when I was about 9 years old. I started off with physical games. Like I started making like pseudo sports, and then I moved on to video game design. And I've been doing that, I think, since about 15 years old.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and then I've made all sorts of things. My most recent title is is GMS2, and that's where it's kind of like real-time Dungeons and Dragons or any of the other TTRPGs out there. You can make your own characters and then play against other people in a metaverse setting, which is really cool.
Oh, wow.
Also, for those who are in the Metabots chats, I'm the guy behind Theory Protocol, that game.
Okay.
So
yeah, I remember hearing comments on that every now and then. But wow, that's quite some tenure for game dev. So props to you. I applaud for that. So well done.
Thank you.
All right. So Ruben, how about you take a chance as well? Introduce yourself, who you are, what you do, just for any new folks that have not seen you in previous collabs I've had you on the workshop floor.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. Hey everyone, my name is Ruben. Online don't really have a presence like the other two here. Very much hidden in dark discords of corners of the Metabot server most of the time. Love tinkering, programming, and taking things apart and whatnot. Favorite game is also Space Engineers, so I'm glad to hear that I'm in great company. So that's always good. And yeah, like I said, love programming, mostly tool based. So I write all kind of interesting things to help with like the preservation of the Medarot games for content and assets and whatnot. And yeah, I'm just happy to be, honestly, talk about a lot of cool stuff this time.
Absolutely. And how long have you been doing the like you said you don't really have a whole lot of a of an online presence. And honestly, from experience, from what places I've seen, people I've seen, and pages I follow, people that have the least amount of internet experience are honestly the most interesting because they have such the wildest projects that they'll drop this bombshell of a project or a product or something that absolutely just dominates everything that's around them, and then they just disappear. They're like, where'd they go? We want more. So it's honestly nice to have that to have that ambiguity with it though. But how long has that been your particular forte and passion?
Well, oh wow, that goes back quite a while. So I think that goes back to the Project Rising Beetle forum days, and
Oh yeah, I
I
remember those days
think,
too.
yeah, I think it's like 2010, 2012, somewhere where I was
Early
really
t-
active on
oh
that.
yeah, yeah, like early tens or so. I remember those old forums actually, the old Zeta board forums, which I'm honestly shocked are still up. I would have thought people have migrated off of those years ago.
Yeah, no, it needs to be archived for sure, just in case so much thing on there. But yeah, I remember like making small scripts that allowed like converting models from like the Medarot DS games and whatnot. And I think that's also one of the reasons why we ended up meeting, where I was really fond of like reverse engineering Medarot stuff,
Oh yeah.
and you loved, working with the models. So that's kind of how we met up. And yeah, and how many years now? God,
Uh,
it's been a while.
it's been a very hot minute, and it's been a joy every step of the way. Well, Metal, Ruben, once again, it is an absolute pleasure and a treat to have you both with me here on the workshop floor as my special guest for today's special coverage. I do hope y'all are excited for what was covered, not just from the official stream, but which we will cover. I want to say we're going to cover that lastly. That's gonna be like a second half or middle portion kind of thing. But I do have a little bit of stuff I want to cover here first before we do get into that, kind of just to get our feet wet with the series and just kind of set the mood for not exactly like a coverage stream per se, but more like a open discussion between us three and of course anyone in chat that is able to that wants to tune in or comment anything going forward, because I like to put an emphasis with my streams that my chat is literally half the reason I even go live. So if there's lots of engaging chat, if there's lots of comments being mentioned back and forth, we can keep an eye on that and just kind of keep the engagement and the discussion going all around. That's what's most important to me. So, but just kind of looking through here as well. Sane, I do see you in chat. It's a pleasure to have you with me for just a bit. Cyberdown says Space Engineers finally another player. So Metal looks like you found a kindred spirit there. So it's gonna be a lot of fun, honestly. So let me go ahead and switch this over just a little bit and get that running. So I do have a little bit of a I'm not gonna call it a slide per se, but more like just discussion points that we can start with, just to kind of get the discussion going and kind of set the mood, like I said. So the first one I want to talk about essentially is kind of like Medarot's history and features. Like, what are some of the biggest things that kind of set the series apart from other, monster collector or RPG kind of RPG games in general when those first hit the scene? So, Metal, actually, I'm going to start with you. As a seasoned game dev, you probably have a little bit more insight on this. What kind of stood out to you as far as Medarot is concerned? Like, what made it stand out to you as something that sets itself apart from others?
One of the things that I found that set it apart, in my opinion, was a combination of how, unlike a lot of other games, like you play Pokemon, you play Digimon or whatever, there's a lot of this modularity. If you've played games like Armored Core or now Little Battlers Experience, some of these later ones, or Custom Robo, they have some of these features, but Metabot seems to take it a bit of a step further by adding special abilities and special effects. like not only just like the ability to revive yourself, but being able to time your attacks in a very unique way, like with Belzaga, or things similar to poison, confusion, and all those other features. It gives it a better, it gives it more of a robust feel. It gives it a very robust feel and a very rewarding feel, in my opinion, when
I
you
can
do
see
things
that.
right.
I can see that. Absolutely. Very, very good points. How about you, Ruben? What makes Medarot stand out to you compared to, other RPG, other, pocket monster platform genres?
But I really liked it from like the beginning, and that's a while ago. Goodness, especially Medarot 2 core days. Was what I really liked about it is that normally when you play any of these like monster collection games or these similar kind of RPGs, if you halfway through the game decide, you know what, I want to try something else, there's not much you can do. You're training up an entire new team, you're swapping characters around, you're respecking in RPGs and whatnot. In the case of Metabots, you just swap around a different arm. It's not individually leveled, especially not in the earlier games, so you can really customize how your playstyle feels. You're not locked in from the beginning. And to kind of go back to what Metal said as well, that modularity, I feel like that's been the biggest pull. If you consider every part of the Metabot in your three-party team to be a different character, which it kind of is, with its own abilities and different effects depending on how far certain dynamics interact. You don't play with 3 characters; you play with 12 that you can instantly
Yes.
swap without any level capping, and that's a
Yes.
really great amount of flexibility that you have to do whatever you want, honestly.
Yes, I have to agree wholly with both of your points. I mean, Metal put it great with the modular customization system, and that honestly was one of the biggest charms to Medarot. Is of course the mix and match. You can have your peer sets, which make things really fun with aesthetic, but you can also completely change it up, much like you said, Ruben, with the ability to completely flip a strategy on its head, try something completely new. And that's honestly the biggest charm to it, in my personal opinion. So, like, if you're fighting on a terrain that biped legs are not really good on, well, you can literally just change the legs to anything else that best matches it. Much like you would in a traditional like RPG JRPG situation. You have your different classes, your healers, your DPS, your aggros, your shields, your supports, your debuffers, and it gives the players a lot of freedom to personalize how they want to put the team together. So say for instance in like, I don't know, Final Fantasy as a great example, a lot of your classes are kind of gridlocked. So certain characters can only perform as DPSs, other characters only as shielders or healers, which kind of gridlocks how you want to build teams. But with Medarot, you're able to completely flip the script on its head where you can have a hybrid healer that can serve as an auxiliary support or an auxiliary offense based on whatever situation's necessary. What are you guys' thoughts on that overall, as it compares to other well-known RPGs?
Yeah, I think that exactly that gridlocking, that's it. And yeah, I think what I liked about the freedom is that because there is still so much that you bring to the table, you can have a few different part types, you can have a few different sets that can easily run you throughout the entire game as like a concept, but still allow you to like really experiment with where your team might improve strength-wise and whatnot. I think that's like one of the biggest strengths from the entirety of the series, especially in later games. I feel like M2 Core and up to and like M5, it was very much like do whatever you want. But what I did like is that in later games, there started to become more challenges that would require you to think
Paying
much
attention.
more. Yeah, exactly. Like it wasn't just like randomly swapping anymore. You were going to trials and specific areas where you were expected to think about like the combinations that could work. I think it's like what I really like about the series so far, and it hasn't proven me wrong just yet, is that normally when you put some restrictiveness on your freedom of customization, it harms the product. But I can't, aside from maybe the speed races in M2, not really
Oh
think of many
yes.
cases. Yeah, exactly, why that was wrong. So yeah, it's
Oh
great,
no,
honestly.
100%. And honestly, that's a really good point too. Before I do give you a chance to make your comment on that, Metal, I just have to jump in with this. the concept of things like sustain checks, DPS checks, just to kind of benchmark where your team is at, are honestly really important elements in RPGs and game dev as well, in my opinion. Because yeah, you could have a team build that runs all the way across from start to finish, and you really don't have to think too much on it. But how are you going to improve? How are you going to find ways to improve your team or customize or personalize it if there isn't something that's challenging you? So, say for instance, like with what's on screen currently on my stream with the screws, and you find out that their DPS isn't as high. How are you supposed to improve if there's nothing to challenge it to make you come up with that decision? So, Metal, what are your thoughts on that overall? Compared to with the RPG elements, with the much like what Ruben was saying with the personalization, the testing. What are your thoughts from that standpoint?
I think that in the end, it helps it helps the game focus more on I say puzzle elements. Puzzle elements, I think, is the best way to describe it. Where other games are pretty much level your guy up and go and just go beat the daylights out of the other guy. It's, hey, it's not just what are the direct weaknesses, but hey, there's a lot more generally to it, and there's a couple of ways you could deal with it. One of my favorites to give as a reference is in the M2 core fight of Beastmaster. He's got heavy beam weapons, he's got all these other things, and then when he finally is able to hit you, he's gonna take out most of your guys. He's gonna
hit like a truck, yeah.
Oh yeah. But if you're smart and you use the right parts, you can not only negate his attacks, but then you can pretty much open him up to take some pretty heavy damage himself.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So it's all about being smart, and the game focuses more on rewarding being clever.
Exactly. That's actually a very good way of putting it. Is that's literally what boss fights are for in any game. Is they're a check to make sure that you've been paying attention to how to play the game, or certain mechanics you have to pay attention to. That's honestly one reason why I like the super invasions in Medarot S, is, yeah, they put you up against some supercharged teams with modifiers, but those modifiers have very specific rules. For instance, no shooting parts allowed, maximum number of, say, biped legs allowed, your allies are only allowed a terrain compatibility of A or better, or not even allowed, or are banned A and better at all, so you're running with no terrain compatibility. I honestly love those kind of challenges because it forces the player to think, okay, so clearly my team, it does not meet these requirements. What can I do to fill in the holes to make it so it does, and how well can I perform using stuff I probably don't use all that often? But yeah, those are honestly really, really good points like that with the especially on the game dev perspective too. That is some really, really good insight that I'm really appreciative of. But I honestly think that kind of ties into my next point here as we continue the discussion along with what got you all into Medarot exactly. So I'm going to start with Ruben this time. What got you into the series first? Like what made it stand out to you when you first picked it up?
Oh, wow. Let's see. That brings me back. So I think the first thing for me was the anime came first. So the anime, or really cartoon at that moment,
right.
Fully dubbed, was my gateway to Metabots. It would play like after school, from like primary school really. So super early on, and it was just amazing, and I loved everything about it. And a few years later, when I had my Game Boy, I remember going to like a toy store and seeing a really recognizable box in the form of 2-core, and yeah, the rest is kind of history. I got my parents to get at me, and from that moment on, it just kind of went downhill or uphill depending on your perspective, I guess. I remember like very deeply as well that like eventually I got Medarot AX and I couldn't beat certain stages, so I would go to my cousins to like help me beat the stage, especially with like the confusions and whatnot. And I also found a few years ago, while going through my parents' like storage and whatnot, I found an old childhood diary that I think I had when I was like 6 or 7, and in it I was like making drawings of like custom Metabots and whatnot. So yeah, the book came really early, and it has evolved and stuck around in very different ways. It's been very good. It has pulled me in with its very like appealing like customizations, and the fact that it wasn't a monster based game. It was mechanics and robots and cool.
Oh yeah.
Something that I think the three of us are, quite fond of. The more robotic side of things, to say the least. So yeah, and it kind of stuck, and it has kind of developed over time in different ways. It became the first games I tried to reverse engineer when I got like into programming. It's really like been so many different things to me, but it's been great.
Nice. And honestly, that's kind of the same with me as well. My brother brought home Metabots Infinity for the GameCube, and kind of just started the whole spiral from there, either upwards or downwards, much like you said, Ruben. And it's just been a long-standing passion of mine ever since. So I can say you and I are kind of in the same manner, but where you chose to kind of learn how to decrypt and pick it apart, I eventually learned to with the self-modeling program with Blender and 3D modeling, much like you alluded to earlier as well. So that's just the direction I took with it, and honestly, that's what I really liked about it too, is just the originality of all the different designs and the styles and the mix and match to create the different aesthetics. That's one of the biggest things that stood out to me when I first put the game, played the game and got into it. But Metal, if you can go ahead and tell us what got you into the series, what first introduced Medarot to you?
The first thing that introduced me was actually, the show. Fox Kids or whatever it was went, oh, hey, we got a new show going on. It's a bunch of little robots that fight each other. And I went, cool.
I'm interested.
I'll watch this. And that was probably the most iconic intro sequence that I've seen for a show ever.
Oh yeah, 100%.
But yeah, at the time I was already a big fan of a bunch of existing fighting robots, from Armored Core to Gundam to Custom Robo. I think that was I had just gotten Custom Robo and had been playing that, and then it was oh cool. And then I was pretty much hooked ever since. Went out, saved up for the video game, got that, and then I remember getting another one. I remember whenever I get really sick, I would go ahead and I just pop in AX or 2 Core and play that. That was always a good time.
Nice. And look at my chat here as well, just to kind of catch up with that. Let me see. Yep. Going through the Game Boy Medarot games right now, so lots of really fun stuff there, especially with the translated projects with Medarots 1 and 3, so we can at least play the first 3 games back to back, if you include 2 Core as part of that development. Hatsuku says, I wish they had a fusion Medarots, like fusion metas. Also, sub to you, welcome. Thank you. That's honest. I honestly think that would tie ultimately to the mix and match effect with the fusion, but I can definitely see where they're coming from. And I like that a lot of newer designs, like the Kabukuas, are indeed that like hybrids. Let me see. A bunch of little robots that fight each other with real guns and weapons. I mean, yeah, come on, let's be real. What else are we supposed to give our 10-year-old kids in anime, aside from electric rats that go send them off on adventures? But, let me see. Tying up in here, continuing on, I think that honestly is a really good segue, though, into our next point, which is, what do we like or dislike about the series? So, I think we alluded to a good chunk of these points, over the course of our discussion already, but just to highlight on them specifically. Ruben, I'm going to start with you this time. What over your lifetime, as a Medarot or a fan of the series, what are 3 things you like about it, and then 3 things that you dislike about it?
Oh, that's good. Okay, I'm going to be counting on my hands for these. So let's start with dislike.
That also applies to anyone in my chat as well who would like to participate. The 3 things you like, 3 things you dislike.
It's going to be very simple, I think. First of all, okay, let's start with number 1. Shingata. Shigata Medarot.
Yes.
And not just because I don't like the game as a whole. Basically, for those that don't know, Shigata Medarot is a reimagination of Medarot 2 in a very specific art style, let's call it that. And it was
Yes.
basically the last game that came out, Japan only, but the last game that came out before the series went into a hiatus. And I'd say it hasn't really recovered popularity-wise since then. So to me, first of all, I don't like the art style, and second of all,
Oh, yeah.
it kind of, yeah, it's connected to like the first death of our beloved franchise, even though not fully responsible. Of course, that'd be silly. Second would be Danmachi, or the second season of the Medabots anime, or the third season, depending on if you're watching dub or subbed.
Valid.
But basically, yeah, exactly. I'd say it was such a different kind of show, such a different quality, and yeah, it's just, yeah. I mean, I can talk about it for a long time. It doesn't feel connected to the first two seasons or the first really large season, depending on your location.
Yes.
And then the third one was a negative point right up until today, so I might not share that one just yet. So if I think of a second one, like a backup option, I generally think that I would have loved to see more push to like non-gacha kind of things where we are right now,
Yeah.
right? Those are my three like biggest negatives.
And they're all completely valid, yes.
Yeah, and I know I haven't really gone into like the specific of like the games or the series, but like as a concept, like Medable as a whole, I think those three things come to mind first.
Mm-hmm.
So the positives, it's going to be difficult to only mention three.
Well, that's
So-
what sparks discussion.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, what I generally like as a whole about Metabots is, well, just like its general concepts and its execution. It had a clear idea of what it wanted to be. It wanted to be, like Metal said, an IP, a game, a series about small robots fighting and all the way of the world that comes with that. And how much impact that on the world is really depends, of course, from like media to media. But yeah, it's great, honestly. Another thing that I just really like is variety, right? So we reached 1,000 Metabots literally years ago.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
absolutely.
there's so many of them. So, okay, yes, many have not seen the limelight since and might only appear in one game. But just the variety of it, I just really like. And okay, the last one is going to be very sappy. So
That's what
brave
we're here
yourself.
for. That's what we're here for.
It sounds cliche, but the community. Generally, some of the most amazing people I've met have been through this community. And it is very interesting to see how many people like remember Metabots, how passionate they get about things, how new people who are just finding out these series, you can tell that they fall into like a well of content. Like, people join our server or Discord server and they have just watched like a few episodes and they're like, oh, kind of curious about it. And then within weeks, they've transformed to these massive Metabots fans with banners and just the most excited and trying to explain why their favorite Metabot is the favorite Metabot. It's great. I just love what still exists for something that at one time was definitely considered to be dead.
Oh, 100%. Like, it's a sleeper series. That's the best way to describe it. Is it's something you don't think too much about, and only a handful of people will actually be like super involved. But then when you show it to just any random Joe off the street, they're like, "Oh yeah, I remember that series." And it's amazing just how large the community is, even if people don't really think about it too often. But those are honestly really good points, both for pros and cons. The gacha aspect is definitely a really good point, especially very pertinent with today's with the more recent games with Meta S and Survivor. But no, 100%. I agree with all those points, absolutely. So, Metal, your turn. 3 things you like, 3 things you dislike about the series.
Cool. Oh, why don't I go ahead and do it in the opposite order then? Let's start off with the 3 things I like. So, so I think the first thing, I'm going to say that I really like how the robots are also, aside from, the combat and everything, that they're also depicted that they're used in day-to-day kind of situations. Like you'll see in the cartoon, you'll see them be used for gardening or helping people around the house or other particular things. It gives it this idea that it gives more, I think, I feel a very realistic kind of concept. It makes the world seem a whole lot more alive. Like, yeah, we didn't just build these things so people can fight each other with little robots. It's, yeah, these things were built also to help people and make their lives better.
Mm-hmm. Yes. That actually is a fantastic point, and I'm going to interject here for just a second on top of you. That is a fantastic point, honestly, and that's something I love about the series as a whole, is the fact it's not just battling. That's the big point of it. Yeah, pet fighting robots, but the fact it shows the everyday life outside of battles as well in the series, both in the games, in the manga, and the anime. I love it. I absolutely eat that stuff up. And when I see fan arts of that same thing, which I have a couple artists I do absolutely love following for that reason, I just eat it up. I love that aspect of it. But yes, do continue. I had to interject that.
Hey, no problem. Yeah, just to build on top of that for a moment, and I'll talk about the other 2. I think one of my favorites is one of my favorite fan works was the one of the little girl with the Beastmaster. That's kind of her babysitter, and she just goes around, day-to-day stuff, and she's got this giant weapons platform.
Oh,
and
yeah,
it's fantastic. But let's see, the second one. I think I'm going to say the second one is I do really love how modular these guys are. Back when I was a little kid, I'd always see those other monster fighting games. I know I bring this up a bit, but you kind of get limited options, and then Metabot just kind of busts through the wall like the Kool-Aid Man. It's like, hey, how'd you like to be able to swap your abilities on the fly?
Oh, yeah.
I went, yes, please, more of that.
Yes, definitely.
Absolutely.
And that's definitely what probably got a lot of games like Armored Core and, GBO4, Custom Robo, someone mentioned in chat as well. Very good points.
Yeah, and I think I'll build slightly off of what Ruben was talking about when he was talking about how we have such a fantastic community, and how people will you'll say the word and people go, oh, I remember that. That was great. Everyone's got fond memories. I remember when back in college we were in the middle of class and I ended up talking to somebody about it because we were designing something. I said, oh, hey, something Metabot, and then I kid you not, and I'm not exaggerating when I say this. The entire class literally got up and started singing the theme song.
Oh, nice!
Just out of nowhere.
Nice.
What have I done?
If only.
What have I done?
If only to have been a fly on the wall.
Oh, the teacher was laughing the entire time. We had a good time.
Excellent. Nice. So three things that you dislike about the series. What makes it? What are 3 big pain points for you?
I think one of my pain points was Metabot's Brave Infinity over here in the West. It definitely could use a little bit more time in the oven.
Yes.
The game designer in me kind of freaked out the entire time, and then absolutely loved the multiplayer aspect of it.
Yes, I have very strong opinions on Brave specifically, and if you've been to Discord longer than 10 minutes and asked me, you'll have heard it already. So I will spare you that discussion, but yes.
Yes, it is the one game I think that would benefit greatly from the Sonic PO6 treatment.
Yes.
If that ever became a thing. Hint, hint.
Yes, 100%.
Hey, fandom. Anyway, let's see, second thing. The other thing that I'm not super fond of is a lot of it is in Japanese. There's a lot of really fun and in-depth lore that, people who really enjoy lore has got some pretty cool and some pretty funny lore. Like even with the prototypes, I know we had talked about that recently in the Discord chat.
Yes.
I really like the initial lore for it. Like it's like, oh yeah, you got here's what happened to the original prototype.
Oh yeah,
and all the shenanigans around that.
Oh, 100%. In fact, when I talked about that last year with my What Is Medarot collab, you know, I had literally all of my guests on the floor, and they're like, "Wait, you're serious? That's legitimate?" I'm like, "Listen, man, I was the same as you. I thought it was literally just passing flavor text that would have been part of like a book you interact with, but no, it wasn't just flavor text. They had animated all the frames, they put it in the manga, like." We're talking. This is a canon event, bro. This is what started the series. So, it's nice how it went its own different direction like that. And I'll say it before and I'll say it again. We're in the wrong timeline if we had the wrong kind of toilet paper thefts. If that's the kind of stuff that we missed out on.
Yeah.
How about you, Ruben? What are your thoughts on the rather unorthodox origins?
It is insane. I think that's the best way to to summarize it. Also, I just quickly want to say as well, Metal, you're braver than I am. When I was thinking about the three negatives, I was going to mention Medarot Brave for Infinity, but I was convinced that Kura would ban me from the stream as soon as I uttered those words. So yeah, good, very good. Glad it was mentioned. Yeah, but no. So as it comes to the origins and the prototypes, you can just tell how much fun was had with that backstory. It is absolutely ridiculous. And for those that have no idea what we're talking about or have not watched Kura's amazing video, the What is Medarot video / stream he did is really worth your time. The lore in there, like Metal hinted at as well, it exists, it's great, but it's indeed all currently like language locked.
Yes.
Medarot 3 has some amazing stories in there. Medarot 5 has some small side stories with NPCs that are just beautiful. We are seeing more and more unlocked due to, you know, people in the community working super hard to translate these things. But some things shouldn't be translated, maybe. Like the toilet paper heist. I think like that's okay. We can think of something else. I'm sure of it.
You know what? Actually, I'd like to counter that. I'd say that'd probably be hilarious to see translated. Like again, when I put that whole What Is Medarot together, my whole MO going in was no stone left unturned. Like I wanted to cover everything about the series I could find, and from my perspective, I can literally just imagine the community, you know, when they actually see that, you know, the translated manga or in a game or something they talk about it, they're like, what are you talking about, a toilet paper theft? And we go, oh well, come on down, sit around the campfire, let me tell you a story. They're like, are you serious? I can just imagine the looks on their faces. I would pay to see it, because it's just something you don't think about, you know. Like for instance with Pokemon, you know, you have Ash and Pikachu, you know, it's a very unlikely friendship that forged into a soul bond. You know, Pikachu absolutely hated Ash's guts at first, did everything he could to not listen to him, and it's a story that we all know and love. And then people say, well, how'd Medarot start? Oh, it started with the toilet paper theft. They're like, what? I would just love to be part of that conversation, honestly.
Yeah, that's when I first read that, I thought that was absolutely hilarious. But for my third thing, I think my third thing I would have to say, if I had to choose three, I'd love to see better tabletop and better like trading card games, because we did get the one over here in the West. But I would love to see a really well done, robust trading card game for Metabots.
Yes.
It would be fantastic.
Yes, actually, it's a really good thing that you brought up the trading cards, because a lot of people say, "Oh, I had a whole bunch of cards from like years ago and such," and yeah, they actually had 2 different trading card games. But good luck learning how to play, because at least even the one that was localized here for a short time in the West, the rule book was just so weird. Like they didn't give the most clear, concise definitions of how to play a card game, and it took like a whole bunch of people sitting down and figuring out how each card works, how it behaves, to actually figure out what the rules were stipulating. So no, I 100% agree. Seeing an updated card game, even if they just start with that, would be really neat, just to kind of see that.
Oh yes.
jump back into that fray. You know, like much like we have Yu-Gi-Oh and Pokemon TCGs. I would love to see an updated Medarot TCG. That's just a little bit easier to understand, a little easier to play. I'd 100% be down for that.
Oh yes, that would be fantastic. So I think I think I will end it at that. For those who know, they know. Those that know don't know. We have a Discord.
Yes, absolutely. There's actually a couple of Fanda TCGs, much like Metal was alluding to as well, that have been in development or have been tinkering with for a while. Mostly on the grounds of, listen, if they can't come up with something that we can understand and learn how to play in English, we'll make our own. So that's essentially the short end of what happened, and they've been super on top with staying with developing that and playing with it, play tests and everything. I commend all of them on that with the commitment to put together those fan projects and just everything that goes into those, because it's a commitment. It absolutely is, much like it is with me trying to keep you guys updated with the news. So it's definitely something to pay very close attention to. Let me see here.
Now that we're mentioning it as well,
Let me go ahead.
we of course have to quickly mention another amazing project, of course.
Yes.
Your tabletop game, Metal. Like, I know what you're hinting at. It is awesome. If people have not checked it out yet, please go check that out too. It's super well thought out, and it's very fun to get more opinion to mess with it for sure.
Hey, thank you. Yeah, I've definitely been trying to get back into working on it. I've got Peppercat to do. I also was attempting to hint at a certain other individual's game that I greatly enjoy, and I really do hope that becomes something possibly official in the future.
About that. I don't want to mention too much about that.
Yes, that's been a really big development for a while as well. So pretty much like Ruben said, let's try not to elaborate too heavily on that one, since that one actually did garner some proper attention where it was desired, and we'll just kind of let we'll kind of let that one figure it out after a while. But moving right along, the next big question I have here, and just as a friendly reminder to my chat as well, you guys have been great so far with staying engaged like that. But just want to remind you guys, this is not just discussion for us three, this is discussion for you guys as well. So just keep that in mind. The next big question I have here, this is going to be one of the really big hot topics, is if it came back to the West, what would you like to see? So, like, it can be a particular mechanic, it can be a story plot, it can be just anything in general. Like, if it were to have been announced today, it's coming back, get ready. What would be your biggest hopes to see in a grand return? Metal, let's start with you first.
Oh, this is gonna be fun. So if they just arbitrarily went, "Hey guys, we're bringing it back to the West. What would you like to see?" I think the first thing I would say would be I'd love to see Medarot R be translated and then be updated.
Choice.
That was I absolutely I've so far had a pretty good blast with that one. I really like a lot of the models. One of my favorite Metabots, Dairy Mouse, actually comes from that series. The other thing I'd love to see is a couple more model kits, and I'd love to see some more advanced toys and games, like something similar to Rumble Robots. I could see Tank Soldier being used in that. Something where you'd remotely control a little Metabot toy, and then you'd battle each other. You could battle each other. That would be pretty cool. I'd love that.
100%. Those are honestly really good points, and not gonna lie, Medarot R was a really interesting choice. Like, a lot of folks say they want to see, like, certain types of games, they want to see a game translated or something similar. And I can see that too as possibilities, but very interesting choice, honestly, with that game, because it's one that not a lot of people really talk about or mention too terribly often. Let's see. All right, with that, let me put this here real quick while I'm still working on stuff in the background. With that, what were some things that I'd want to see in the meantime while we're waiting on Ruben for the time being? Pretty much like you said, I would like to see a bunch of translated games officially make it back to the West, even if they literally just take the game 1-to-1 and just give it a proper English translation. I'd be 100% okay. Actually, let me touch on that. If they were to take, say, the Classics Plus collection, which is available on the Nintendo Switch, I would love to see that translated. That would basically be a perfect segue to introduce the Western community to the series with the least amount of effort required, because you have all the games in one place, fully translated in English. What else would you need to do? Like, you have everything, and the games will speak for itself with all the classic characters everybody knows and loves. What else would you need to do? So that's just something that I would like to see, is more a really big effort and endeavor in wanting to make sure that the global community stays involved this time around, either with their own collective voice, or even just to let them know, hey, we're still letting you guys know that and acknowledging you guys exist. But Ruben, what is something that you would like to see if Imagineer announced we're bringing Metabee back to the West?
So this is something I've been thinking about a lot today for some reason, but it's difficult because in a way I am a bit twofold. I really like the idea of them revisiting something that we in the West have not seen before. Let that be a remake or just a translation of like the classic games or etc. But I genuinely hope that when the announcement comes, that it's going to be something new, something for both markets, something inspired by the previous games, but its own thing. And I think the main reason why I would love for that to happen is I think the chances of it then losing steam is a lot less big. I don't want it to come back for just a game. I want it to come back and start to regrow, to be its own thing. Now, what that would look like, that's difficult to say. I spoke a bit about this earlier as well on the server, but when you launch a game in a market, let's say the Western market, that has not seen Metabots for the last 20 years, and you put anyone else but like Metabee and Rakusho on the cover,
Yes.
is it going to do well?
Yeah.
People won't recognize it if you put like Junk or Croto on there, you know what I mean?
Yes.
And that's the kind of the difficult part, because I would like a new installment that pushes the story forward, but then at the same time I'm worried that if we don't do that, no one is going to like recognize it. I think that's kind of the big thing. For what I would like to see as well, I mean, people in the comments are saying, Matt was also saying, merch, just cool protos, amazing new model kits, please. I was shocked that suddenly the Steam kind of disappeared from that series. They were launching them like every year, like a cool model kit will come out. But that's really been quiet since the launch of like Medarot S.
Yeah,
and speaking,
has been. You are right on that one.
Yeah, exactly. Like they, I forgot the name, but they launched the last model. Can't recall.
Yes, Fancy it was the last
That's the
Kotobuki
one.
kit,
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And that one came out really because that was a new model for Medarot S.
Yes.
And that Medarot S has been out for a while, so it has definitely been a while since we've seen that.
Now we have seen.
I know that.
Just to touch on that as well, we have seen the 112, the Gachapon toys see a little bit of popularity as well. They did release a Volume 2 box. They were going to have an all-female box, supposedly, they announced that, like, somewhere before the second volume box was announced, and I think they're kind of hoping we forgot about it, because every once in a while I see a tweet saying, what happened here? We were supposed to have another box, and we don't see it. So, I don't know. Like you're right on that, though. It's a fact that it kind of just fell off after a while and made it really difficult to keep track of.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, and I think that kind of stuff will be very good. Now, people, of course, hoping for a new series and new animes as well. I think it's quite funny. I sound very greedy saying all of this stuff, but I would just be happy if they just say the word Metabot. Like, that already would be a victory.
Yes.
Just some kind of recognition there. I know there are some people that are hoping that Medarot S will go for a global release. I'm curious to see if that's something that they're like considering based on how popular it is in Japan. It's yeah, it's very curious.
Yeah, a
Like
lot
I
of
said, I would like to
folks.
see everything.
Yeah, a lot of folks actually Aqua makes a really good point here too in my chat. Says an offline version of Medarot S, much like with Rockman X Dive did, and honestly, I could see it. Like if they strip all the collab models out and just leave only exclusively Metarots, all the new ones included, of course, but no collab stuff. I could see it being a possibility, like it's something players could get into and try out. Just making it to a point that you could theoretically earn every part, if you stay on top of it, because there are a lot of parts. I'd be interested to see if they consider something like that, and even like what they did with Rockman X Dive is put it on Steam, so everybody can see it, everybody can install it and download it, and it doesn't have any kind of console lock.
Yeah, I think that would be a great compromise as well. It's definitely something I hope they do anyway if they decide Medarot S is end of life. But having it release as a standalone game just to fill a gap, I feel like that would already be a significant bridge. Yeah, good
Yes.
point, Aqua. Very nice.
Yes, 100%. Something I'd like to see too. A lot of people say they want to see, and you alluded to it as well, like another series, like another anime or something. And there have actually been a lot of different points that have considered, like, what are they going to do with that? Like, they could completely, remake, redo the original series from top to bottom as like a revamp kind of thing, which is a possibility. But what I honestly would like to see, I think the best term I can use for it would be like a kind of like an anthology, where instead of focusing on, especially as a really good way to introduce a lot of different protags, because Medarot is not just the story of Ikki and Metabee. There is, the original Hikaru and Metal Beetle and Head Scissors. There is, Koishimaru and Chronojill in 5. There is Azuma and Gunnose and Sanjuro in DS. There's Kazumi with Grand Beetle and Sonic Stag and Navi. There's lots and lots of protags they could pick from, and they could pick almost any one of them out of a hat and make an episodic series out of it, much like they did the original. But what I would really like to see is an anthology where they say, great example, say you have your standard 12 episode anime, but every episode focuses on a different protag. So not exactly like the entirety of their series from start to finish, but maybe 1 or 2 adventures of them in that particular episode. So like in the case of, say, Koishimaru as a great example, the first chunk of the episode could be talking about, how he found Chronojill, what got him into, moving to the village of Susutaki, and then later it could also showcase, his efforts to help revitalize the Medarot Club at his school. As an example, that's something that I personally would like to see.
Yeah, I think that'd be very nice.
Making
absolutely.
Making an OVA of Girls Mission Frontline. Okay, let's. Do we want to address that elephant in the room? Like, Girls Mission is kind of its own little topic right there. But yeah, honestly, let's not forget those protags either, because they are still part of the series. But yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like OVAs or an anthology anime or something like that. That's something that I would like to see. Kind of bouncing on your point, Ruben.
Mm-hmm.
But no, we've honestly had some really good discussions so far with everything that we've talked about, and keeping everybody involved. Now, I'm going to kind of use this as a segue as we kind of move on to the second chunk of the discussion here with one of the really big pieces of news that was talked about, not exactly in time for Medarot Day, but it served as a really good precursor to it. And that is, of course, the recent announcements for the lawsuit that's finally come to its end. For those that are out of the loop, back roughly about 2020 or so, when Medarot S first launched, about 6 months in, a certain somebody decided to file a lawsuit saying that his Metabots trademark that he allegedly purchased was too similar to Medarot S, and basically ordered it being taken off of the public app stores. Needless to say, he basically kicked a hornet's nest and started a whole 5-year-long lawsuit. Now that once Imagineer's attention was properly brought to it, really, really long story short, this guy tried to use the Metabots trademark to jumpstart a crypto NFT scam, and it failed so spectacularly over the course of the first couple of years. They tried minting two completely separate coins. Both of them failed spectacularly. Rug pulls were extraordinarily obvious. Like, you would have seen them come a mile away. And it's just been nothing but court cases and appeals the whole time. Well, all through the year 2024, the news was fairly quiet because we had gotten confirmation early, like late 2023 into 2024, that the courts had sided with Imagineer and saying that everything was just a great big mess. It shouldn't have happened that way, but we're siding with Imagineer. 2024 was and all the way on up to a few weeks ago, actually, was extremely quiet because the scammer kept trying to appeal every chance he got, just to kind of stall it out and see how long he could play chicken with Imagineer. Well, needless to say, the courts decided they had enough with it, and about a month or so now, I think, at time of this stream, the courts finally announced that Imagineer did make a comment on it, saying that they are finally over and done. The lawsuit is finished. The final hammer has been struck down. The name Metabots in the EU and Medarot both belong rightfully to Japan. So there is no longer any question on who owns what name. Imagineer owns both of them, which leaves the door wide open to introduce the possibility of localization, which is what we wanted. But looking back on that, just in a brief discussion, since that could be a whole topic and a half, I'm going to start with Ruben this time. What are your thoughts essentially on the whole lawsuit from start to finish? But with the developments, with all the stuff that came out of it, with the final judgment, and just in general, like your hopes, now that everything's been done, dusted, and we're just waiting on everything to settle.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I quickly do want to quickly add to that. Alleged scammer, alleged rug pulls, just in case.
Yes.
We of course, don't have a full idea what happened there. But yeah, it is. I'm very glad that Imagineer is now the owner of the Metabots trademark again. Now, of course, something can be said about the fact that they lost it in the first place. That was due to, in my opinion, negligence. Like,
Yes.
They didn't renew it. It fell. Someone else picked it up. That is just how that circle goes.
Right.
So, I am really happy that it's back in the right hands, but I also understand why a fan might have bought it, even though I don't particularly agree with what he ended up using the trademark for. Yeah, it's exciting, honestly. If nothing comes from this, aside from the fact that the Medarot S or the official Medarot channel puts the word Metabots in their bio, that alone would be a small moral victory, honestly.
100%. In fact, I was going to save it a little farther down, but I can go ahead and find that comment real quick on what was mentioned on the tail end of this morning's stream. I am actually going to go ahead and mention it then. It was exactly an entire conversation. Like, they didn't spend 10, 15, 20 minutes discussing it as a possibility. It was kind of a last minute comment before they officially went off the air, like as a final farewell addendum comment kind of thing. But it was mentioned earlier this morning at the tail end of the official Medarot Day stream that Producer San made a comment that reads roughly, and it's roughly translated, but it reads, "Actually, there was a surprise I was supposed to announce today. I really wanted to share it today, but I couldn't. I don't think I'll make you wait until next year. Also, some of you may already know, but our overseas expansion has taken a turn for the better. It's good news. Can I say it? It's okay to say it, right?" So, needless to say, in my opinion, that was one of the biggest wins of this year's Medarot Day, is the fact that, of course, most likely they were alluding to the lawsuit, but the fact that they have finally acknowledged it, like they've acknowledged that the global community exists, we've been supporting them all this time, that to me, honestly, is the biggest win of this whole thing.
This was by far the most exciting news. Yes, absolutely. I did not believe we were going to get, maybe not an announcement, but an acknowledgement to begin with.
Yes.
Very curious about, how you guys feel about it as well, but this on its own doesn't mean anything.
Yes,
yes.
100%.
As far as I'm concerned, they are just getting now ready to launch Medarot Survivors in a global release. Like it doesn't say anything just yet, but the fact that something might be happening is exciting. But yeah, I'm very curious how you, Kura, and Metal, how you feel about this as well, of course.
Honestly, Metal, I'm gonna send the floor over to you next on the whole topic with the lawsuit, with producer San's comment. What are your overall thoughts with that?
I'm honestly very happy to see the outcome. I say I predicted that that would be more than likely based on the situation. But I think that that probably sounds a little pretentious. But I'm super happy. I'm super stoked. I really do hope that does mean we're going to see a lot more in the West. I do remember a lot of the stuff that was going on, and definitely a special thanks to all the people, especially on our side, that really kept abreast with that and helped us out or tried to do their part to help out on that situation. It
Absolutely.
was really cool. I mean, the amount of work some a very certain individual did was very appreciated.
Yes,
Um,
100%. I
what
100% agree with you.
120%. But yeah, just to hear that statement though at the end, to hear that statement, that was really cool. I greatly appreciate that they did that, and I do hope that that does follow through with something really neat.
I 100% agree. Like I think that was probably, like I said, the biggest news of this entire of the earlier morning stream. Yes, I woke up at 4 in the morning to be ready for it, so I'm running on just a few hours of sleep, but it was worth it. I can absolutely say it's worth it. But I was very excited to hear that and read it. And like I said, was saying in the conversation earlier, is it's not an outright guarantee they're going to do anything. Like they've not told us, oh no, we've already got something in the pipeline. Just keep hold on, guys. We're waiting on it. They didn't say that. Much like Ruben was saying, this is not a guarantee that they're going to do something, but it's leaving the door open at this point, because originally all they could do is just say, thank you for your support. We appreciate what you do. Roboto fight, and that's all they could really do. But now that the lawsuit is officially done and dusted, and they can at least to me anyway, it feels like they can properly acknowledge us, because they can now actually take time to look at all the support that's come from outside of Japan over the years, and really embrace, understand, realize, acknowledge how long we've been doing this, and just how hard we've been fighting for this, and alongside them, no less. So I am very excited for that. I'm not going to set any expectations or like overhype myself and say, oh, this means we're going to see a Medarot X sometime next year. I'm not going to do that, but it leaves the door open, and that's literally the most that we've ever wanted. And that alone is what I'm happy with. And I'm more than certain you both would agree with me on that as well.
Absolutely, yes.
Yes, so
Absolutely.
Yeah, let me see here, kind of scrolling through everything here. So that essentially covers the tail end of just the discussion portion of it, like just talking about what's so great about the series, what we enjoy, what we like or dislike, what we want to see, and of course, especially the really big news that was talked about with the overall discussion. So we're gonna go ahead and segue now into I'm just gonna call it part 2 going forward at this point, with the just some other tidbits that were announced with this morning's coverage with the Meta S. So I'm gonna go ahead and switch my window over here real quick. There we go. And then go ahead and slide over. There we go. That's a little better. So basically what this segment is in the coverage is mostly going to be just like I said, anything that didn't quite fit in the other categories of our discussion, but still absolutely worth mentioning. And one of the first really big points that I feel is 100% worth talking about, and I alone am super excited for this. Ruben can attest to this. I'm stoked for this. I'm ready to go. I've been ready for a while. And the first really big piece of news they talked about is the Ori Meta contest. The first official one, roughly in about a year or so. The last one they had was about this time last year in Light 4 Meta Survivor, but I am super stoked with this. When they officially announced Ori Meta contests, basically what they are, for those that are unaware, Ori Meta, as in original Medarots, you can design something completely original and unique to what you want to create to your imagination, and submit it with the proper tag. As you see here, Ori Meta, hashtag Ori Meta. I think it's Ori Meta S. I actually missed a character on that one. Starting today, actually, November 28th, 2025 to January 4th, 2026. So I'm really excited for this. Ruben, what are your thoughts overall whenever you see this banner floating around?
This is some of the most exciting times in Medarot as a whole. And I don't just mean like for Medarot S. This really plays into the community aspect as well. And some people might not know, but like Ori meta contests have been going for so long. Like I'm pretty sure wasn't Tyrol Beetle like a good example of a
Yes.
Ori meta
So is
creation
Greed.
as well?
Greed and
Yeah,
Tyro Beetle
exactly.
were Ori metas.
So super long has it's been running for, and the idea that you can design your own bot and it might be picked and it might actually become a mainline game, like addition to your game, is just fantastic. It is super exciting, and
I 100%. I 100% agree. Metal, what are your thoughts on the Ori meta contest when you see them rolling around?
Oh, I absolutely love these. I think this, in my opinion, is one of the better ideas that I see come around. I do love when people create these guys, and it's fun to go on Twitter. It really is fun to go on Twitter and see all the crazy cool stuff that people come up with. And even more so that Imagineer sits down and goes, "Hey, how'd you like to possibly make something for one of our games?" And it's really cool. It's really awesome.
And honestly, the designs that they pick, like, honestly, I really have no argument because they just have so many designs to pick from, and I can imagine it's so hard to only pick, 2 or 3 winners of, say, a couple thousand or a few hundred that gets submitted in. I can understand that, but I usually never have any issues with the designs they end up picking at the tail end. Like, for instance, Musha Beetle and Kyron, when they held a contest specifically geared toward KBT and KWG types, 100% love them. I love their designs, and I thought they were 100% worthy of the winning spots. And sure enough, they were officially added not only in Medarot S as models that players could roll for and collect, but they also were added specifically to the Reloaded Psy manga where they actually made their debut. So not only are they just saying, okay, cool, we're gonna pick some designs, we're gonna make them models and drop them in the game, have fun. They're actually doing things with them, and that's what I really like is how active and how often. Now I kind of wish they'd host the contest a little more often, but just how they keep the community engaged. And personal opinion, they could literally open a contest, say, like right now, October 28th this year to January next year, for the roughly, say, about a month, little under a month, little over a month or so, and just take all the designs that were submitted, every single one of them, and they literally have they literally have content for Meta S and Meta Survivor for like at least a year, 2 years, very easily. Like you don't even have to create anything in-house. So if you went through a drought period where you just could not get any official artists, you're covered. Like you have so many original designs from current and past contests. I'm excited for it. I honestly love seeing that, and just be prepared for anyone that follows me on Twitter. I will be resharing a lot of them from that tag alongside my own. So be prepared if you want to see a bunch of original stuff. I will be sharing them, and I have a bunch. Oh boy, I have a bunch ready to go, just waiting for this moment. So I'm excited for this.
I think one thing I really like as well is that when it comes to the kind of like art contest, and especially on like a larger company community level, you have certain things in mind, like certain quality like levels that you have to pass and whatnot. But doesn't seem to be the case. A really good example is Time Faller, which is an amazing like grandfather's clock metabot that was added for Medarot 8, I think the DLC, as
Yes.
an Ori meta.
Yes.
And its original art is this really cute but quite simplistic, like pixel art.
It's like it came out of the old GBC games.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not like sometimes when you see these commissions come by, they have these beautiful rendered like drawings and styles and whatnot. But the fact that like something was picked that is quite simple for a like mainline 3D game. Yeah, exactly. It just shows that honestly, give it a shot.
Yeah.
see where it ends up. Like, it's very exciting.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, a lot of the rules are fairly simple. A lot of people argue one of the big rules is, you have to reside in Japan, but I also like consider and counter with that point that the designer of Musha Beetle is not resident of Japan, but that one was still chosen as a winner. And even in some of the more recent streams with Producer-san, when that comment was brought up, when he does the Q&A segment, which I honestly love, by the way. I love he does that, and he has an open letter that people can send to him, and they can ask him questions, and he can read them on stream. I love he does that. I love how he keeps the community involved. But a lot of people made comments on that too. So I would say, first of all, don't let that necessarily stop you from even just designing something and submitting it just to try, because you honestly never know if they decide they like it so much that they want to use it. But generally, one of the big rules that I see, and it's mostly just a formatting thing more than like it has to have a certain level of quality or content, is mostly just it has to be like a 2K by 2K resolution, which is honestly super easy. Like, you don't even really have to think too much on that one. And of course, if you do have trouble with the Japanese, you could probably reach out to a friend or two to help you out with that. Machine translations are fairly consistent depending on if you filter it a couple times to make sure, but I absolutely would love to formally invite everyone here tuning in and that catches it in the next couple days to take a look at it. Look at the tag. I put the proper tag in the chat, by the way. Look at it, see what you think, reshare or talk about the ones that you like, and even submit your own. Or if you submitted one for one of our contests, which is the tail end of this of my stream's discussion, have at it, do it. Like just don't let anything stop you. Just you have the pen, you have the creativity, let them see it. So I'm very, very excited for that, and I've been waiting for the next contest announcement for quite some time. Whether I win or not, just the fact that they're out there and people can look at them is more than enough for me. But that was one of the really big things that was announced. One of the other really big things that was touched on, hold on one second, there we go, that I'm actually really impressed that they touched on, and they spent, I'd say, roughly about an hour talking about it between Meta S and Meta Survivor, are game statistics. Things like player levels, average player login, average, most popular parts that are used or not used. And I honestly really like seeing that, because not a lot of people really ask about it, say like, how many people are playing, or what's the average player level, or what are the average parts people use. So it's honestly nice to kind of see the backstage of that and see what people think. But just to show this slide here to you both, specifically for context, and of course my chat, this slide right here, this graph is the average player level across the entirety of the player base for Medarot S. So starting from new players that are just starting out to seasoned players that have been there since day one. So as you see, it's a pretty vast majority here between new players and veterans. But Metal, let's start with you this time. What are your overall thoughts looking at this?
That's actually a really good question. So looking at the graph here, that is a pretty solid setup here on the graph. Lots and lots of new players, getting up to about, I assume, what's probably the halfway mark, and then you have the drop into the hardcore players. This actually is something I see a lot with a whole lot of games. You have a lot of people who play casually, and then you have a small subset of players who really enjoy the game to the point where they want to do something a little bit more hardcore. So this is actually a pretty good and a pretty healthy graph.
Yeah, and how about you, Ruben? What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I think I will parrot Metal there as well. This seems like a pretty healthy distribution. What I do like is that there's more people in the 121 to 130 category than the one before. So it clearly has like a few people who have run ahead of the curve. Yeah, and we've stayed ahead. We most likely have everyone in that category to thank for the fact that the game is still alive due to spending and whatnot. Just an assumption there. But yes, absolutely. It's cool. It's very cool.
And honestly, on that topic between the 121 to 130, which is currently the player cap for Meta S, is they actually even took into census the number of players that are currently capped at level 130. As in, they cannot go any higher right now. And me, who's been playing since roughly about day 3, day 4, it kind of shocks me how they're able to get this high, aside from just literally letting it run nonstop any chance they have, is 65. Out of the entire player base of Medarot S over 5 years that this game has been running, almost 6, there are 65 players that are currently sitting at the level cap waiting for it to go up. I'm honest.
It's mad.
Yeah, I'm honestly blown away by mostly just the fact that they touch base on it, but also just out of the entire player base of most likely thousands or even tens of thousands that have played cumulatively, that's the top of the top. So I'm very surprised to see that. For those that are curious, no, I'm unfortunately not one of them. I'm still floating in the 111 to 120 category. I think I'm about I think I'm like 118 right now, so I'm pretty close to getting ready to hit that threshold. But the other thing to note is there is a pretty decent level curve once you hit, say, between 80 to 100, and then once you hit 100 going forward, it just really spikes with that exp jump. So a lot of folks may consider this to just say something like RuneScape with their well-known leveling system. How's that old phrase go? Like 92 is half of 99 or something, where it just really spikes after a certain point. So this graph kind of makes a lot of sense to me. But something else that they did touch on is the fact that the number of players that logged in from launch is 135. These are the 135 people over the entirety of the player base have never missed a day from day 1 of launch. So honestly, it's amazing. Like you don't think too much about these statistics too heavily as far as like how many people have played, how often do they play, and I'm honestly really happy to see that. It was really insightful to see that this morning on the official on the stream. But overall, like you said, you guys are kind of shocked by this. I am too, and I'm really happy with it. They did touch base on a lot of other ones too. I did not make slides for, but just to kind of touch on a couple of the others they did. Let me see. One of them here is total number of row battles held in online exhibitions. So these are players that have gone online head-to-head with other players across the globe ever since that feature launched. Based on what I'm reading here, it's just over 3.2 million.
Yeah, insane. I mean, one stat that we are missing that I wish we had because it gives a bit more context is how many people like log in like every month or how many people signed up, so we know how many battles roughly a single person does. But for 3.2 million, that's an insane amount.
100%. And again, these are and something to set as a difference here too. In Meta S, there are 2 PvPs. You have your online, which is where you battle other players in real time with teams that they built, and then you have Meta League, which is a weekly which refreshes weekly and pits you against player teams, but they are controlled by enemy AI or an AI rotation that the player sets. So it was honestly really crazy that they didn't say, oh, this is just the number of average PvPs in general. That is specifically the 3.2 million are the online, as in players that are actively seeking out other players to challenge, in a test of wit to who's the best of the best in their circles or in their tournaments or whatever. I'm honestly blown away by that number. A lot of the other things that they really did touch on as well, and they spent a good roughly 20-30 minutes talking about this, is like just by community vote, by community census, how often certain parts are used in PvP by part. So like how most popular heads, right arms, left arms, legs, sets in general. It's just honestly really crazy, and a lot of them really don't surprise me at all. But one I think that you might really appreciate, Ruben, of course, and you probably did see it in this morning stream as well, but I'm going to mention it anyway, is popular units frequently traded in the 3-star exchange. Basically, let's say about a year and a half, 2 years ago, they released a special paid ticket that you could purchase that basically gives you a unit of choice of a list, and you could pick any model in there to redeem your ticket for, and it was given to you. No questions asked. The number 1 spot is Gothic Mate.
Correct opinion. I'm so happy with this community. Everyone did fantastic. Yes, absolutely. I am still surprised. Well, not surprised. I'm still so happy with the reaction that like Gothic Myth got and its mass adoption. I should maybe add that I'm a absolute sucker for devil and weapon type bots. So seeing one of my favorite Gundam creators turn around to create one of my favorite devil types was definitely exciting, and to see everyone just being happy and picking the bot up as well.
Yes.
This is great.
Yes, and just to mention on the Gundam creator as well, by name it is Fujioka Kenki. So he's definitely been around the block a number of times with mecha design, and actually with Medarot design too. He has designed a number of models through the years, and has designed, as obvious by Gothic Mate, designed a lot of more recent ones. Just briefly translating the top 10. So these are the top 10 models that people will redeem with their unit of choice ticket. Number 1, absolutely of all time, and it's honestly doubling the second place, is Gothic Mate, like I said, at almost 1600. At about 628 is Kuroit Baizan, who is also designed by Fujioka Kenki. Excellent choice. And third place, at just under Kuroit Baizan, is Particle, the original Archangel type. So really good choices between those top 3. It's kind of obvious if you play why those three are picked, but it's honestly wonderful to see them. The other ones that are mentioned here from from 4th place to 10th is Arc Beetle, Cross Messiah Z, Arc Beetle D, God Emperor, Saikachi's C, Jackal, and Yatsukubi Daija. So, what are you guys' thoughts overall on those models within the top 10?
I think that's honestly more surprising than I expected. Like I some of these I recognize more as pure like aesthetic picks, like Gothic Mate perhaps.
Yes.
But a number of them, yes, I feel like it's a good spread between what is more meta like right now and what is just more popular. No, I think this makes perfect sense to me. I'm happy that it's a good spread of both.
Yeah, and honestly, like I said, it's honestly nice to see those statistics, because a lot of people forget about them, and I know a lot of people might consider this part of the discussion kind of boring, since no one's really paying attention, especially if you're not playing Meta S or Meta Survivor. But it's just really nice to see that on the back end, really, just to kind of see why the game is popular or why certain models really stand out more than others. But moving right along here. Before we do officially get into the Ori Meta Contest submissions, which is the contest that we personally have been holding over the last couple months, I do want to make a brief note here. We have alluded to it in the past, but I just want to make a comment on it as well. If you would like to assist with the cause, so for any of our translation projects, like with Medarot 4, or any of the manga translations, or if you'd even like to start a project and just looking for some help, we would absolutely love to hear from you. You can join us in our Discord in the link provided. I did put it in the chat as well in case you needed it. You can reach out to me personally as well and ask about it, but if you are knowledgeable in coding or cleaning your Japanese and have some time on your hands, or if you know somebody that might be, send them our way, ask around, we can get you in touch. Alternatively, there is also a link in my usual weekly episodes to a crowdfunding on Ko-fi or Ko-fi, however you pronounce it, where you can donate to, and we can commission some of those extra lines of text to be translated. And that takes a big load off the translators, so they can focus more on cleaning and typesetting. And honestly, Ruben, you in particular have been fairly up to date with touching base with every once in a while. What are your thoughts on the overall on the current endeavors that are being worked on ever since Meta 3 got finally finished?
I did not expect to see projects continually speed up. I genuinely thought that we were going to hit a moment where things were going to slow down significantly. There's of course quite a lot of like extra stress and pressure, on like the main project leads for like these translation projects. But instead of them burning out, the only thing I can see is more and more passion and more people trying to reach out. I've seen a lot more recognition as well. So that's been fantastic. And if we're just talking about like the last year, for example, what I also just really, really adore is the great amount of fan projects that have really gotten more of a push. There's a number of them that have seen
Oops.
active development and have seen just like brainstorming and whatnot. Like I mentioned your work before, Metal as well. Like this amazing like project you're working on. Just in general, I think it's so cool that people are
Yes.
just yeah.
Right. Metal, what are your thoughts overall with the translation projects? Like, I know you've been working on your own stuff too, but just kind of watching on the sidelines and even interacting and assisting where you can with Meta 3, with the early stages of Meta 4. What are your thoughts overall?
That's a very good question. Generally, I don't deal too much with translations, but if I did, I would love to help out where I could. Generally, I just think it's really, really cool to see that people have taken up the mantle to make these a lot more accessible to folks. I know that, especially as somebody who does want to be able to read the manga and play the video games, these are just, it's fantastic. It's really great to just see. And I know that from the times I've jumped into the chats where there have been discussions made that it is a lot of, there's a lot of effort and work that's been put towards making these all a reality.
Yes, and there's a lot of work. Actually, when I interviewed the head translators for Meta 3, they honestly say it's only going to get the load's only going to get bigger with every game they do. Like Meta 3, they said had a couple thousand lines of code that needed lines of text that needed translated, and they said Meta 4 at least doubled it. So there's a lot of work that needs done, and any efforts that can be put toward helping with that, to lighten the load, more translators to help, or even just people to help typeset and clean, anything is appreciated. Whether you're helping on the floor to help with the translation and cleaning, or even if you just spread the word on it too, that 100% works out perfectly fine as well. And any efforts that people provide, either monetarily or with their time, is always appreciated. That is what I want to put as the biggest tantamount thing with anything that we talk about, is just how important and how much we appreciate just spreading the word on it is. Because if you can't help, just you talking about it does more help than you can imagine. And I'm more than certain both Ruben and Metal will agree that is the biggest sentiment that we have.
Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely. And also, I want people to know that, like, when we talk about like translating and helping and whatnot, we don't really mean like come on over and sacrifice all of your free time on this super cool project. I mean,
Right.
if you are able to help with like a few lines, or if you just want to come over and just tell the developers that they're doing a great job, or just
Yes.
to experience the games themselves. It is such a nice open community that we have. Like, just have a look, see if there's something for you to do, something that you
Yes.
want to do, or just, chat.
Yes, absolutely. Now, kind of moving things along here. We've honestly had a lot of wonderful discussion here in the roughly about hour and a half, little over that we've been on the air so far. So I've been having a lot of fun with this. I hope you guys have been as well, both to my guests and to my chat that's been tuning in and hanging out with us. But now comes one of the really exciting segments of the. Actually, hold on. Before I do get to that, there is one more piece of news I do want to talk about. That was covered in Meta S. Just before I do get to the Ori Meta contest winners, there is one other big piece of news that was announced in this morning's stream. They kind of left it as a tail-end, last-minute thing. Most likely they will go into detail on it over the course of next week, on this coming Tuesday, for the usual Meta news coverage. But they announced something rather interesting, and I didn't think they would introduce another one so soon after the Gurren Lagann one just ended, but they decided they were going to leave another calling card, essentially. So I did send the link to both you, to Ruben and to Metal, in our group chat, so you guys can watch it alongside. But to those that are tuning in, have a look. So honestly, what do you guys think about that? The official Shin Megami Tensei collaboration announced for Medarot S this morning with today's Medarot Day coverage. What do you guys think about that?
I actually do like several of them. That's really cool. The little gremlin one, I can't remember the name of. I've seen him a lot in a whole bunch of different things. So seeing him as a Metabot is actually kind of really cool.
Oh
And then
yeah.
they got the little dog wolf one. They've got another humanoid one I see. They've gone and made. I assume that's one of the protagonists.
I think they said this one specifically was based on the Devil Children iteration of the franchise, so a much older one. And according to a friend of ours in the Medarot community, this series specifically that they're collaborating with kind of ran in tandem with Medarot in Comic Bomb Bomb. So another fairly older series that's known a lot of years and kind of fallen off the grid a little bit unless you're actually in the SMT series. But no, very exciting all the same. And I can only laugh at the idea now that a legitimate Jack Frost model actually exists in both universes now. So,
Yeah.
like you said, Metal, you've seen him everywhere. He's an extremely iconic character, and anyone who's been on the internet longer than say a month probably will have seen him at least once. So it's honestly super exciting. But Ruben, what are your thoughts on seeing that official announcement?
Honestly, I expected a few things for today's announcement, but not another collab this early after what we've just gone through as well.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, I hope everyone's rubies are recovering well. But nonetheless, it's exciting. I have to say I like the collabs that are a little bit more akin to the series and to its origins, like a little bit more than some of the more random ones that we've seen over the last few years. So having something that we can point at and be like, oh yeah, they had like the same run like 28 years ago. That's a really cool thing to say. Yeah, my general opinion with these collabs do kind of stay. I always find it super hard to truly get attached to these models because I know they won't be part of like the next iteration of Metabots.
Naturally.
So, which is a shame because some of these collab designs have been absolutely amazing.
100%.
But yeah.
And honestly, though, just to touch briefly on it, SMT is a really big series too. Like I said, Jack Frost, you see everywhere for a reason. But it's not just a sleeper series that people think about and they talk about and they just kind of carry on the conversation. Like it's a very prevalent series. Like it makes runs. People know about it. So I'm excited to see just what this is going to bring, whether it's new players or new fans of the series or tying in a little bit of here, there, and everywhere. I'm excited for it. So I'm interested to see how that's going to play out. And naturally, we don't have any word on what the models are, what their names are, what their kits are yet. So nothing exactly just yet or how long the collab will run. Most likely this morning was just a teaser officially to that. And then, of course, on this coming Tuesday, which is just a few days from now, naturally, we'll be getting more information on that, and the first wave of that will drop. But I honestly thought it was really exciting to see still with, like I said, much like Ruben said, it's a little early for a collab because Gurren Lagann literally just ended like 2 weeks ago, a little over now, so it feels like we're jumping right out of one and into another, but I'm still excited. I'm interested to see where it's going to come, especially because, again, it is just a really big popular series. But I just wanted to touch on that briefly, see what you guys thought, since it was another big piece that was announced. But then, of course, comes the other really big piece de resistance of today's coverage here on the official channel, and that is, of course, the introduction of going over all of the Orimeta submissions from our own contest in-house. So, much like Imagineer was hosting their own, every once in a while, we do try to run one in the Project Rising Beetle Discord server just to kind of keep the community engaged with fairly incentivized rewards, either with personalized art drawn by yours truly. This time around does have a little bit of a cash prize on the table, so I was really excited to see a lot of the models that were introduced, that people came up and drew up together. I kind of tried to separate them by, each slide exclusive to who drew them to kind of keep them organized. And if you guys ever decide that you want me to go back and look at others, like for a second look, let me know and I can cycle through them. But the first one that was introduced, and these are all in basically order of submission. So starting from the oldest one that was there from the beginning of the contest to the ones that made it the last minute before it closed. So, starting us off here, this one, of course, by Helm Chan, who's been in a couple of contests now, is Dark Chimera, which is a... let me pull this up here and look at it as well. There we go. Is a Guardian Metabot with eye cameras in each of its parts to keep watch from multiple angles. Each part packs a strong weapon, making it a dangerous opponent, but its lack of hands leaves it with little utility outside of combat. So, what do you guys think about this one?
Oh, I like a lot of the elements that are input into it. There's I definitely see a lot of the different types of Chimera we've seen. Like you've got the goat, the dragon, the lion, and then you've got the snake for the tail. I also really, really like that blurb about it's got cameras in each body part. And I'm assuming it's also the legs too.
Yeah.
And then hinting at that it's built pretty much just for combat. That's I think all of that together really, really works really well. And I am reading over its abilities and naming conventions too, which I think I really like those as well.
Oh yeah, and that's one thing I really like too, just to touch on it, is the fact that you're not only just naming the bot, but you're also naming the parts, because the charm to Medarot is, of course, mix and matching the parts. So you're not going to use just an arm of, say, Metabi, but it's going to be called, like, you know, a submachine gun or Otsuker, you know. It's going to be something associated with it, and that's something that I do really appreciate with the naming convention and the creativity. But, Ruben, what are your thoughts overall on Dark Chimera here by Helm Chan?
I'm very much in the same boat as Metal as well. This is such a good idea. Breaking down a Chimera into different parts is very Medarot design language. Really happy with that. I love the different like ability types. So the idea that you indeed have fire, thunder, and freeze, like just completely different elements into a single bot, is a great idea. Design-wise, it just looks clean. And what I quite like about it, I think with this concept, it is super easy to go a little over the top, making it very like dark and edgy and whatnot. But instead, we have some very nice bright colors still as well,
yes.
which I can appreciate.
It makes a good contrast.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, in general, really, really cool.
Yes, I'd 100% agree. I think Dark Chimera really nailed a lot of the elements, and much like Metal said, Medarot is no stranger to chimeras. We have the original Triple Gotsun from 2. We also have a Beast Chimera, if you want to count him, in Medarot S as a Nue type, which is also a kind of chimera. So we're definitely no stranger to it. It's honestly really nice to see that. So wonderful work to Helm Chan for that, and as well as with previous entries that she'd worked on in the past with previous contests. So always wonderful to see that. The next one, hold on one second here, my mouse, there we go. The next one here is by Iron Clark with Cronenberg, from kind of basing off the Silent Hill series. This one developed for sanitation, but was significantly damaged in Silent Hill. Repaired with a part from a dark dimension, and now assists in those trapped between worlds. So one thing I really find neat about Iron Clark is I've seen a lot of his original stuff, especially with his weapon art that he does, and oh man, that crazy little spook comes out with original weapons like nobody's business. But what I really like is he likes to tie in a whole bunch of different series together when he creates his Ori metas, which gives him a nice direction on where to go. So what are your guys' thoughts overall on Cronenberg?
So what I really like about the style in general is the first thing I want to say is the idea of making an Ori meta is one thing. The idea of basically making an Ori meta collab is a super interesting spin that you don't usually see. So I think it's really cool that he's already touching into something else that does already exist and, you know, grab strengths from there. When it comes to design-wise, I love it. I have to be honest, I'm a sucker for the feat design, Bat Hager, Black Stag and whatnot, the double... Yeah, the single feet with like 2 claws.
Kind of like a stilted toe.
Yeah, exactly. I think it looks really cool. I like the broken antenna look on it. Yeah, just in general, it looks fantastic. Genuinely an amazing design.
Absolutely. Metal, what are your thoughts?
I think I have to say I'm in pretty much the same boat. I really do like how while it's supposed to be this kind of re-put together kind of thing, it's still really clean. I'm a sucker for good, clean, fun art design, and it gives off all the notations that yes, this was something that was salvaged. It was mostly still intact, so somebody went in and just put it back online, but they threw some more stuff on it.
A rustic theme.
Yeah, it's very interesting. It's got this sort of recycled theme, but also at the same time, it's very much so. It's mostly still intact. It's not something I usually see as much with characters that are supposed to be recycled. Right. Also, it's again like Ruben said. Ruben touched on. It's nice to see some collab-looking models and designs.
Yes.
My favorite part of it too, I think, is the head and the eyes. The whole camera head with 4 eyes is actually pretty cool.
Oh yeah.
Or sorry,
absolutely.
I mean the TV head.
Absolutely, and again, that's the really nice thing about Ori Metas is you can take a design, say for instance, I'm just gonna pick a theme out of a hat. Say dragon. You can give 10 artists design a Medarot with a motif of a dragon, and you will see 10 completely different iterations and approaches on how to create a dragon-themed Medarot. And more often than not, none of them will ever have any kind of similar aesthetic or approach, which is what I appreciate. So I really like what Iron Clark did here with Cronenberg on that too, with his take on a Silent Hill-inspired model. The next one here, these two are actually by Vaucus Mermaid, who also was a previous winner in a couple of previous contests, who submitted 2 entries. So the first one here with Drawcut is a Medarot-inspired... Let me hold on a sec here, pull up the whole thing so I can see it cleanly. Hold on 1 second. There we go. Oops, there we go. There we go. Drawcut is a Kenjutsu type inspired by Bato Iajutsu. A powerful offense focus, she patiently uses close-range swords for a devastating effect. And then the other one, with Sweet Cone, hold on 1 second, there we go, is a witch type based on the witch's house in the fairy tale of Hansel and Gretel. She tempts her enemies with sweetness into falling into her traps. Also, her hat is a gun. So, Metal,
I mean...
yeah, so Metal, let's start with you this time. What are your overall thoughts on these 2 designs?
Oh, I absolutely enjoy these designs. They're both very fantastic. The first one, I'll go with the first one, Drawcut. I really enjoy just how simplistic it is, but at the same time, it's such a clean, clear cut on very much so what it is. It's got a really great silhouette. The left arm part is fantastic. I really like when stuff like that is done, where they incorporate those types of concepts into the design, rather than just like stick a sword on the side or whatever. There's like right on the arm. There's the arm.
Oh yeah.
That's pretty cool. I can imagine that it might have some really cool effect where if you attach both those arms together, they have like some additional ability. That's really cool. I really like it. It's very reminiscent of Medarot 2 and 3 designs. I really like that. The second one, Sweet Crone. I saw the hat and I had a good giggle. I really liked that.
Oh yeah, like it's honestly super creative with that too, how they did it. I like the whimsical effect that they had for Sweet Crone as well.
Absolutely,
really makes it stand out. Like you have models that are based on Beatles, samurais, historical figures, abstract themes, and then suddenly just Candy House. Like, she's gonna stick out like a sore thumb, and that honestly is the entire reason she's there. So I gotta give points for that one.
Yeah, that was great. I like the color choice. The color choice is really well done. The way that the details have been implemented. Just there seems to be definitely references from multiple things. Like I think the socks down below are definitely really neat. I think of a couple of things when I think of that. Not Alice in Wonderland, but my brain's hiccuping at the moment. I'm thinking Yellow Brick Road. I'm thinking of
Wizard
The Good Witch, and I'm thinking of Wizard of Oz. The feet make me think of Wizard of Oz, the Evil Witch.
I could see it.
Yeah. Along with, I think in one iteration they did actually have those swirly stripe socks on the witch too.
All right.
So
So how about you, Ruben? What are your
yeah,
two thoughts on these models?
So Metal completely called out exactly what I was going to say for Drawcut. Um, it must have been so tempting to just sheath the weapon on like the leg part or on the back part or like the head part, I suppose. But sacrificing an arm for it is fantastic. I feel like that really sets it like a head. I think I would have enjoyed it as well if it was attached to the leg part, but I think it being part of the arm is great. A really big fan of that.
Yes.
So when it comes to Sweet Crown, yeah, it's really good in a very creative way, but also just in a really fun way. Yeah, I mean the
Whimsical.
description says it best. Yeah, exactly. Also, her head is a gun. Yeah, that will do it.
Yeah.
Did a witch need a gun attached to their head? Absolutely not. Am I happy it's there? 100%. It's great. But I also kind of just want to speak a little bit about the general presentation, the art style, the background, the way it's presented, the little pixel art versions at the top. These are beautiful, like entries, like genuinely stunning.
It
Both
actually-
designs.
It'll actually tie to a point you said too about the official contest winners too, like with Time Follower. You know, like it doesn't have to be this really big, high rendered level art. You know, sometimes even a really good detail of a pixel art, you know, in the original art style is great too. So just wanted to tie that into that comment you made.
Absolutely. But yeah, this is definitely super high quality, super well done. Both. What I do like is that both are miles apart design wise. You got a more muted, serious on the left, and you got your more whimsical, color bright on the right. And I
Yes.
like that range in entries. Very cool.
100%. And Mermaid's done a lot of really creative stuff in the past too with previous contests, but honestly, I have to say these two are probably my two favorites that of their designs anyway that they've released so far. So I really like a lot of the ones they've done in previous designs in previous contests, but I think out of all the contests they've participated in, these two are probably my favorites of them personally.
Yeah, I'd agree as well. Absolutely.
Well, wonderful work. It's always great to see stuff from Mermaid as well. Moving right along here as well to the next one is by Nier, who also has done a lot of really high detail stuff with previous contests, is Molden. Looking for protection, a fungi attached itself to an abandoned tin pet. Molden became a stationary Metabot, rooted on the soil in its sprung form. It is not known what gives sentience to it, if it's the metal or the sprawling root system that the fungi is connected to. So, Ruben, I'm going to give you the floor on this one first.
This is just fantastic. Like I I saw this being submitted and I loved it since the moment I saw it. I like bot designs with strong lore descriptions. The idea of a fungus infested Medarot is super cool. Of course you would have to separate it a little bit from like how, you know, I feel like if there was an
Right.
actual bot, that would be like the story behind its design, but it wouldn't be the actual implementation, of course.
Right.
But taking it like on its face value, it is fantastic. The idea of possessed and nature taking over and like fungi based is an amazing combination to me. So I think that is super cool. This is an amazing entry, and I really like the inclusion of the attacks like demonstrated on the right, from like a fungus blast and just like its claw arm as well. Yeah, no, this is a genuinely wonderful entry that I absolutely
100%.
adore.
100%. Metal, what are your thoughts on Molden?
oh, this is equal parts. Oh boy, that's I will say that this is a very unique model, a very unique design. It's equal parts horrifying and equal parts awesome. It's very unique for a Metabot to see the idea of not only one that the parts are made out of organic material, but also that it's stationary. That's actually pretty interesting. I'm just looking. I look over it and I see all the little design elements of stuff that are put onto it. Oh boy, the head opening up. That's a thing.
Oh yeah, 100%. Pretty much like
Oh,
Ruben said, a nature
yeah.
taking over thing.
Yeah, definite fantastic job to Nier for this design. This is definitely a treat to look at and read over.
100%. And in one of Nier's previous contest entries too, and I think that one actually did win. It was the Gilded that they implemented. It's they introduced when they did the Gilded, they mentioned and made a comment that it was based on a D&D monster that they were designing for a campaign that they were running or participating in. I forget which one in that conversation. So honestly, even if you choose not to use this for a Medarot theming, just the idea of a nature taking over like this is just a really good visualization of what it could possibly look like. So I really like the approach that Nier did for that one as well. So let me moving right along here to the next entry that was introduced. These two were done by Grey Mallows. The first of which is for Chrome Fox, which is a two-tone monochrome or black, black and white of a Kitsune type, specifically reading secondary form of Chrome Fox. Much like her original and rival counterpart, Chrome Fox 2 has gained an upgrade of her older abilities, excelling in combat and resistance much better than the older. She is quick on her feet and focuses on delivering strong blows. And then the other one is Chrome Knight 2, which is a secondary form of Chroma Knight. So most likely took the original designs and gave them upgrades. So much like the rival, Chroma Knight 2 possesses the same techniques but a much higher level of strength and focuses on grounded combat and lending a hand to his allies. So honestly, I have to admit, I really like I really like Grey Mallow's style when it comes to working on when it comes to working on arts and designs like this. And I like the strong contrasting colors, especially with Chrome Fox 2. That's something that stands out to me that I really appreciate. But Metal, how about you take your turn first next? What are your thoughts on these two?
Oh, I've got a few particular thoughts on that. First of all, fantastic use of color. Going with Chrome Knight first, I do like how they move both the design detail and the way that they use color on it. You start off with darker and then you go lighter, and then you have more detail on the upper body. That was very smart. They're very simple in design, but they describe very well, in my opinion. Chrome Knight explains what he is very well, even without the name, and that's really
Yes.
good. I really like Chrome Fox's overall design. That whole I'm trying to think of the word specifically, but that two-tone, one side one color, one side the other. That's really cool. The overall shape and silhouette is also really nice. That is definitely something I really enjoyed about it. They did some really cool stuff with the background as well behind them. That's really neat. I think that's a compass.
Yeah,
Looks
that's
like a
what it
compass.
seems to be.
Yeah, it's very clean. It's just overall a very nice design. I definitely like them. They're really cool.
100%. Ruben, how about you? What are your thoughts on these two?
I adore these. So in general theming, it seems they got two themings going on. The first one is very cool. The both backgrounds are indeed compasses, but then also all the part names are based on the chordal directions as well, which I think is a really cool joint design decision between those two. I'm also a really big fan of asymmetrical designs in general, so both of these are fantastic. Chroma Knight, I'll give it him as well. Amazing design. Again, sacrificing hand parts. I'm a big fan of that. Just attaching a sword to it is a super cool idea. I also like what seems to be like a more shooting pod and a melee part on bots. That's great. It gives me a little bit. Goodness, I forgot the Digimon now, but the
Omnimon?
Yes, thank you. Gives me a little bit of Omnimon vibes based on the like its sword and
I can see
its
it.
good in design.
I can see it.
Yeah, I really like it, and also more Metabot needs capes anyway, so
Yes.
that's a great contribution too. And then I will, happily talk about Chrome Fox. I think this is my favorite of the two designs. It's asymmetric, it's clean, it's super cool looking, and I like the little detail of the left arm basically extending, so you can see the joints and the little drawing as well. And the other hand doesn't have like proper fingers. It's just
Right.
like a heavy brick almost, just a gun or hyper beam part in this case,
Something actually
which in
something that stands apart to me too, I was just thinking about it, is yeah, we have models that are like heterochromic to a degree, very rarely. I think the Kabukiwa series is most known for it, obviously, but one of the other models that stood out to me very clearly with Chrome Fox is Gemini from Navi. Just the solid straight down the middle black white contrast. Like I really
yeah,
like
yeah,
that aesthetic.
yeah, these are absolutely fantastic. Really, really like these.
Absolutely. So the next one that's on the docket. Oops, hold on. I gotta keep tabbing back in and out. There we go. The next one is by Navaldius, who's done a lot of really unique designs and does a lot of puts a very heavy emphasis on not only making new skills, but also takes time to explain exactly how they'd work if they were to be implemented in the game properly. So this time around, Navaldius decided to make a KXK04, which, as of current, we don't actually have in the game. So I really like the design that Navaldius did with this one, explaining it is a new Kabukiwa type designed after the two original heavyweight beetle models, Arc Beetle and Titan Beetle. This model boasts immense durability and power at both close range and long range, outliving his foes on the field with majestic strikes. Now, I'm going to read the blurb here just for a little bit that Navaldius did include, even though I'm not considering it as like part of the actual entry, since I said it has to be in the art. But he does explain just a little bit further. It says the name is literally Grand Cross, or Magna Crucis, to keep the family of having the word in multiple languages. Purple because of Arc Red and Titan Blue. Eclipse Horn based on the way because most of Arc's parts are named after solar phenomena, while Titans are named after regions of Titan, one of Saturn's moons, also shaped like the horns found in Atlas beetles. So, Ruben, let's start with you. What are your thoughts on Magna Crucis?
For a next in line for that specific series, first of all, I think purple is the best choice for color scheme, combining those two beautifully in this really nice looking purple. So that's great. I have to admit, I'm a bit of a sucker for unconditional or unhandy bots, and this poor guy basically having a lance through the middle of the chest is something that I really adore. Especially if we go way back and we spoke a bit about how Metabots are not just for fighting, but also how they operate
Yes.
in life. I just like the idea of this guy, accidentally throwing all the drinks over the floor at your house and that kind of stuff as he tries to turn around. Um,
You know, at least
General,
at least when they designed Juke for Medarot 9, they made his horn retractable. Like they at least gave
yeah, exactly.
they at least considered it for him. Poor Arc Beetle and Arc Beetle D didn't quite get that consideration.
Absolutely, absolutely. No, this is really, really lovely. I like its very nighty theme. It comes on through really nice without being cliche, if that makes sense. Like you can tell it's night based, but it's not your typical D&D. This is a night kind of
Right.
design. I think it's a really good combination. I like the little lore behind it. I think the Yes, we don't take it into the rating, but I do like the idea of making custom skills as well. If other bots can do it, why not you? But yeah, in general, I think this is a lovely, lovely contribution.
Absolutely. And what I like too, before I do give the floor to Metal Chowman to talk about his thoughts, is I like the fact that he tied in basically the equivalent of both Arc and Titan Beetle's kits into this one. So like Deathlock Shot, Drain Shot, Hard Sword, Thrust. So a couple of newer skills that were added fairly recently, but I just like the nod to that as well to kind of keep the hybrid the hybrid theming and aesthetic with this one. But Metal, I'm going to give the floor to you next. What are your thoughts on Magna Crucis?
Let's see. Taking a look over the design, I think it's a very interesting way to put together a knight. To implement, I see where he's implemented the Kabuto, or the Kawabata. There, my words. I will word today.
Abukuba.
I do Kabakuba. The different beetle parts that implemented into him in a very interesting way, like taking the old knight helms, where they'd some of them you'd stick the horns on them, and they've placed in a certain way, and then the horn on the chest that's that's reminiscent of several different types of Metabots in the beetle family. I think was actually pretty smart. It's actually really neat because it's almost like he's got a weapon sticking out of his chest. So that's very interesting. I like the shield. He's got a cape on the back. He's got a couple other elements. The legs are actually kind of interesting with how they seem to be a little bit more circular. And then I can go on to about the naming, but definitely a very solid design. I think he's a very solid design.
One thing I actually kind of like too, and I'm not sure if it was just how it was at the angle it was drawn, and Navaldius can correct me if they're in chat or can talk to me later about it, but I believe the cape also was only on one side, specifically on the Titan caliber, the left arm. So I like that asymmetry there as well. So yeah, if you use just the head and arms, you can keep it fairly symmetrical, but I like that Templar Knight design with the cape draped over one arm. I'm kind of a sucker for that aesthetic. Especially with the knight medieval theming or fantasy theming. I'm kind of a sucker for it. But no, honestly, this is a very strong entry that I've seen from Navaldius, and he's also participated in a lot of entries over the last few contests we've had, but honestly, this is probably his strongest yet, in my personal opinion. Like, we've not seen a proper KXK04 yet, so I really liked his take on it, and I honestly, if they were to design one based off of a cross between Arc and Titan, I would definitely throw this one in the mix first.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, it's always nice to see how people improve over time with their designs. That's one of the reasons why I really like these contests. It's really cool to see people, they start off and then they come in over time and they just improve and they improve. And I think this one definitely shows a lot of the skill that Nav has pulled up over time. So
yes,
definitely good job. Fantastic job.
Yes. Now, the next one on the list actually has 2 pages because they submitted not 1, not 2, but 4 entries, mostly on the grounds that they're all part of a set. And they've actually asked me for feedback, mostly on kits more than design itself. But Saskia Sketches decided to come up with a quartet of models that were designed off of Mayan, Mexican lore in their particular mythos. So, starting with the top one here is Quetzal, which, to read the flavor text, is a custom built based on the Aztec god Quetzalcoatl in Team Mexico as part of one of the contenders making it for the World Row Battle Cup. And one of the biggest reasons why Saskia put so much time and effort into wanting to redesign them is mostly as part of a story that they're working on writing, where they're basically novelizing the original anime as we know it, but they're taking liberties to properly flesh out characters that were not necessarily touched on. So, like in the case with Team Mexico, yeah, in the anime they were given 3 Sabatena and called it a day, but it didn't leave a lot for character development or fleshing out the characters. So I really liked the approach that Saskia put over her 4 models. So these are 1 and 2, with putting these together. The second one is Tez, which reading belongs to, and I'm probably going to botch this, pairs with Quetzal and Huitzi. Together they are known as the Destruction Trio. Tez is custom built based on the Aztec god Tezcatlipoca. Mexico is one of the main contenders for the World Row Battle Championship. So, what are you guys' thoughts on these first 2 models from Saskia?
Why don't I go first? Oh boy. Oh, I really do enjoy. I'm a sucker for when people do Metabots based on like a bunch of real I like stuff like this with like real world lore and things like that. Deities, history. I really enjoy that. And I think they're both really solid designs. I really do also enjoy Tez. It's got this really ancient Mexican armor design that really translates very well. That shield is awesome.
Absolutely.
Good job.
Ruben, what are your thoughts on these two?
These are fantastic. So I feel like them being particularly based on a specific part of history, and then also in the lore of these design, custom built representing Team Mexico, does really add to some like in-world lore building, which I can really adore. Normally, I might feel like, well, these are very busy designs, so normally I might be like, oh,
Yes.
they're quite busy, but them being busy makes so much sense. They are representing an entire culture.
Yes.
There's not supposed to be a single part that doesn't tell a story. They are as much fighting bots in this case as they are, part of like
Walking
awareness
mythos.
or like, yeah, exactly. I think the design to do that is great. I like the little extra design things. I like that the bow for Gretztel is a snake. I like that the arrow holder on the back is not like a straight design either. Everything has like just a little bit more personality to it.
Yes.
Taz as well. One of his feet is like a snake opening its mouth. Like it is an amazing combination of designs, and I would be very curious to find out what specific things have like influenced the designs. Like what are the little things behind specific choices? I think this is really, really wonderful.
100%. And something Saskia mentioned to me again when she reached out to me, mostly for kit feedback more than design feedback, because I try to keep a hands off with design. But if you need help like figuring out a kit to put to it, then I'll absolutely help you with that. But one thing that Saskia mentioned to me is not just with these two models, but also with 3 and 4, which we'll be looking over in just a second, is their design. And I see the comment on here as well by Lean Breaker saying they're a little bit over designed. According to Saskia, that actually was done on purpose, because if you look at a lot of really old, like ancient Aztec arts and hieroglyphs, they're very, very busy. Very high contrasting colors, lots of reds, lots of yellows, green accents or orange accents where they can, lots of lots of texture print, lots of very strange designs and approaches. And that's something I think really stood out with a lot of Saskia's designs too, is the fact that she took that into account when creating the color palettes for these 4 models. So just to address Ruben's comment on the over design being very busy, is it was done on purpose as another nod to the mythos that they were being pulled from. But moving right along here, the other 2 models that Saskia put together, again as a set of 4, is for Huitzi, which is, let me pull this up here. Huitzi pairs with Quetzal and Tez, known together as Destruction Trio, based off of a mythical ego, based off of let me see, based off of Huitzi by name. I'm reading the comments on here as well, just for further feedback. And then the last one, Saskia said this was kind of a last minute addition to the quartet, to the original trio, and then later made them a quartet. Is Xipe, which explains it is a model design based on the Aztec god sheep Totec, based on the Team Mexico, but does not actively participate in the team of 3 in the World Row Battle Championship. So had a little bit of lore developing that Saskia wanted to put together for them as a quartet. But looking at all 4 designs now, Ruben, let's go ahead and continue with your thoughts. Seeing the other half of this quartet, what do you think?
Honestly, these 2 perfectly fit with the points that I already made as well. The designs continues beautifully. I like how diverse the 4 are. 3 are biped, yes, but even between the bipeds is such a large difference between like design elements. Nothing feels overused. Everything is very unique. To kind of summarize what I said before, I feel like all of these 4 bots celebrate something. I think that's the best way of describing it for me.
Yes, I 100% agree. Metal, what are your thoughts on seeing all 4 of on all 4 mouth, work with me, please. I know I'm only running on 5 hours of sleep. Please work with me. Metal, what are your thoughts on seeing the other half of Saskia's redesign of Team Mexico?
Oh, absolutely fantastic. It does remind me, it reminds me so much of a lot of the old, especially Aztec art and things that I used to see, especially back in high school and college. The third one, Huitzi, is probably my favorite. It's such a bold design. It's such a bold design, but you can tell very easily to what everything is. It's fun. They're all 4 of them are just they're fun, and I absolutely love the flavor text that's attached to them.
Yes.
It makes them feel very, very alive, very much so. Like, yeah, I'll say with just very, very alive. I think it was very well thought out. Fantastic, absolutely fantastic job.
100%. And Saskia, you could tell Saskia put a lot of work into putting these together, and I'd say it honestly paid off, seeing all 4 of them together. I do see the comments on them saying that they feel over-designed, but like I said, the defense I'm going to give on that one is if you consider a lot of, Aztec art or, ancient art of that particular time frame and region, that's exactly what it looks like. It's very over-designed, very busy, lots of very strong colors, so yeah, I thought it was a really good nod in that respect as well, so I do have to give credit where it's due. But moving along in the contest to the next entry that was announced by Lotl, who also goes by Lord of the Losers 1 on YouTube, does a lot of Medarot stuff like I do, but they mostly do a lot of gameplays. They did Medarot 9, they did Duel, they did Navi, and I did the retrospective on Navi with them about a year and a half, 2 years ago, roughly. But their design was for a rather simple-looking model here called Gentelia, which reads, it says, one of the 4 remaining Metabots at Bibet's Chateau, this maid continues to clean the estate, awaiting the day her master awakens. She chooses not to fight. Her sensors allow her to detect abnormalities and inform others of intruders, but really she just wants to be the first to greet the master. So it looks to me it's like kind of like a centipede or millipede type maid. If you guys are kind of picking up on that, and correct me if you guys see any other aesthetic in this, but what are your thoughts overall? Metal, let's start with you on this one.
Oh, yeah, this one. Oh man, the first thing I see at this was that centipede millipede look, and my brain immediately went, "Oh," which is a really good thing to have when you're trying to make certain designs. This is actually a pretty solid design. It's kind of like a good balance between simple and complex. And I'm trying to read through the I'm reading through the naming conventions, and it definitely makes it very clear on what it is. The tentacle things coming out. The what are those? Mandibles. Brain.
Yep.
Yeah, the mandibles coming out of the back, that's pretty cool. The leg parts themselves are also really cool. I like how they have the many legs that just go down. That's really neat. I like that.
Especially in like a skirt/dress formation too. Kind of allows you to tie it in without making it look too busy. But Ruben, how about you?
Absolutely.
What are your thoughts on this one?
I really like this design. I like the idea behind it, but perhaps more important so, it makes me want to see more. I want to see the transformation of this. Like my brain is immediately thinking like of super cool ways this could transform into like a full like centipede like takeover of like the design. Very cool. I like that it is a nice combination between the 2 teams, being Maid and Centipede very clearly. Neither is overshadowing the other. And like I said, it makes me think of like how that could be like fully demonstrated. I think the design and the idea behind this is very cool. I'm also a fan of bold colors, so
yes,
a
very,
nice
very
spread
bold
of different
colors.
colors.
Very, very bold
Yeah,
colors.
Exactly. I also think that the kit itself, I've nothing to complain about. That just, all sounds good. I really like the name of the leg part, the Mexipult gown. I think that's a great name for such a
Oh
big
yeah.
maid dress. Yeah, I think this is really well thought out. Absolutely.
I 100% agree. And one thing I do want to point out too is if you compare the art style compared to a lot of the previous ones we've seen too, it's a lot simpler. And one thing I like to point out is we don't necessarily look for art quality with our contests. It's mostly, can you take a design or a theme and can you realize it? That's what's most important, and especially with something that I look for. So I really like much kind of bouncing on you guys' comments with the with the centipede and the maid theming, and I really like Ruben's comment on the fact that one doesn't overpower the other. It's a very unique synergy of how it was interpreted as a way that makes it look like it stands apart on its own, but you can tell it's both motifs. Like you're not going to look at it and wonder, okay, what are you based off of, and kind of scratch your head for a minute. Oh, you'll take a look at the mandibles, and you'll think, oh yeah, that is absolutely. I'm kind of getting some centipede vibes off of this one. But the skirting and the headdress make you also think maid. So I really like the creativity on that too. With the far simpler design concept, it blends it very nicely. So just bouncing you guys' comments on that one as well. But moving onward here, Zero Mythos actually submitted 2 entries for this contest as well. The first one they submitted was for, according to this, an older design of them that they came up with called Outlaw, which I think speaks for itself over just what it does and what kind of theming theming convention it has. Medarot is most certainly no stranger to cowboy or gun types, whether symbolic gun or literal gun. But I think it's also a very unique take on how Outlaw was designed. But Ruben, what do you think about Outlaw?
I think it's a very clean design. It keeps the theme very much like central, which I like as well. I know I just said now as well that I like the idea of like having themes be more subtle, but there's nothing wrong with going full out and really combining it. There's enough details in here that I like. I like the way that the weapons are demonstrated and the way that they handle there. I love the idea that there's so many like metal designs on it. You have the belt around the head, you got the main belt, you got like decorations on the boots as well. It is like a very cute like way of like incorporating some of that more the traditional marks of like a genre and turning it into something else.
Absolutely.
This is cool. Yeah,
Absolutely.
I think this is a really cool idea.
Absolutely. How about you, Metal? What are your thoughts on Outlaw?
I like how straightforward it is. There's a couple of design elements I kind of really like and that speak out. Kind of give me this bounty hunter kind of feel. Like his hat, it looks like it's kind of like almost like it speaks to me that he's displaying like all of his trophies. Like, hey, these are the guys I've defeated. He's pretty straightforward too with how it's very obvious this is a very gunslingery Metabot. He's definitely an attacker. He's a guy you stick as your first in line kind of character.
Right.
The other thing I enjoy is the way the guns swivel around. I think that's actually a pretty neat idea. That tells me that, or at least it speaks to me the idea that whoever did, in universe, I'd say that whoever would have designed him would have thought of proper storage. Proper storage or otherwise making it easier for him to walk around
Right.
in a real world setting.
Right. So like a in battle, out of battle orientation. That's actually a
Right.
really good way of putting it. So I really like that idea as well. Like I said, Western gun types or desperado types are definitely no stranger. I mean, we have literally 2 that are based on actual just gun. They're not like symbolic gun. They're not they're not a tank or a symbol. They're just literal gun. So I think that would definitely be a really nice little nod to them as well. But the other model that Mythos worked on was a snowman type named Snowy Soul. And the flavor text for this one reads, it's just simply referencing Frosty the Snowman. And I have to admit, I kind of like the little 360 ball that they designed for the leg, kind of based on BB-8. I mean, I'll be completely honest. I'm biased. I think BB-8 is the most adorable droid in Star Wars, and you cannot convince me otherwise. But that theme stuck out to me right away. But the idea of snow/holiday theme like that is weirdly enough something you don't see all that often. Like, we only have like one snowman type, we have one Yuki Onna type, and then a couple of holiday ones, but not really much else to mention. So I like the originality of taking something like that and kind of realizing it a little bit more. But Metal, let's start with you this time. What are your thoughts on Snowy Soul?
The rolly ball legs are awesome. I like that. That's actually really cool. Very clever. The overall is extremely straightforward. It's exactly what it is on the tin. It's a snowman Metabot, and I like snowman Metabots.
I mean, it's
the giant spoon.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
It's very easy to tell, and the pipe actually on the right arm was a really neat touch as well.
Yes, the whole corn cob pipe. It is very frosty to snowman. Yeah, definitely. I like the scarf over it. I definitely see, like, in universe, this would be something that people could customize on him specifically. Maybe the hat, definitely the scarf.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
So, yeah, I do like that. I like Metabots with customizable parts. That's pretty cool.
No,
very straightforward. I like that.
And honestly, that's a fantastic point too. Is the personalization. Like, people don't really think about it, but, like, for instance, if they existed in real life, garage kits, modders, hand makers, DIYers, they would go to absolute town making custom stuff. That would still technically be considered, like, and I mentioned it in my What is Medarot stream. I said, listen, you could take, you could buy 10 different exact KBT-01 meant to be kits off the shelf, take them home, and you could come up with 10 different possibility garage kits or modifications you could put together. And not one of them would be the same aesthetically, but they're all considered meant to be. They're just personalizations of them, and that's something I do really like. It was a really, really good point you brought up with. So if they don't like the top hat, switch it out for a wool beanie, or change the color of the scarf for something a little more homey, something like that. I like that you brought that up. Ruben, what are your thoughts on this frosty little soul?
It's adorable. This is so cute. I want to drive through a neighborhood and see, like, them lined up in someone's yard. They are amazing. Yeah, I won't go over what you guys already said, but yeah, I love the wheels on this one. The idea that it rolls around like a droid, adorable. Big fan of that. I also never thought I'd see a snowman Metabot with a fire melee weapon. I think that takes a lot of creativity. That's really cool.
100%.
Yeah, this is like a fun little touch. I also mentioned on his other design, Outlaw, I really like the scarves and the metal, like, motif on it as well. I think it's like it's cute. It's not just any scarf. It's a scarf for a Metabot. Yeah, very nice. I think this is a very strong design.
100%.
And I'll be honest, between these two designs, Outlaw and Snowy Soul, I don't know which one I prefer more. They are both genuinely lovely, feel-good designs. Absolutely.
I 100% agree. Now, in my opinion, if I had to pick one between the two that Zero submitted in this one, I would have to pick Snowy Soul. Mostly on the grounds that, like I said, they're Western outlaw cowboy, it's touched on every now and then, but holiday or snow is just something that isn't touched on. It's like a wide open field of, pun intended, of possibility and opportunity for things that you could take. And the only snowman type that technically exists is Frat, which we've had since Medarot 2, which you can kind of tell is a snowman, yeah, but it's hard to tell from that immediately, and it's all we've got. So I really like the aesthetic that Zero did with Snowy Soul as well, to make it not just blatantly a snowman, but also tie into a lot of factors of the theming of the source material that it came from. But no, wonderful entries that we've seen so far. There is one last entry that was submitted as a literal last minute, like the day before I closed the contest when it closed, and that was by teleprompter in chief for Daluna. And the flavor text for this one, which is a little more wordy, says, "Many decades, the sect of Santa Dolores brought relief to a war-torn and famished land. It works of charity delivered aid to those in need, and its faith solaced tormented hearts in search of guidance. Yet, all that good will be rested upon the devout worship of the dubious relic, a medal. Amidst disastrous flooding, the relic was either stolen or lost, and with it, the sect's cornerstone, but in present times, old echoes long gone idolatry ring within this medal's heart, empowering its newly constructed body. Through Daluna, pain haunts from beyond." So, Ruben, how about you take the helm on leading this one? What are your thoughts on Daluna?
I'm a really big fan. The theming is so extremely strong. This is very, very strong. Like I said before, I like the idea behind lore, but I also really like the fact that this is a design that I'm surprised we have not seen yet. With the amount of angel and devil bots between literally archangels and archdemons and devils as well, we don't have relics. You could argue that some of the horoscope bots
Okay,
could maybe fall into that category a little bit, but not something that is fully dedicated to being this. And I think what's also really selling me on this is the little remark in the design choice in the bottom right corner. Just a quick warning to make sure that you don't look at the actual gaze of whatever is inside of it, or you will fall ill. That is not a warning for other metabots. That is a warning for you accidentally looking at your own bot. I think it's a lovely combination. I think this is a really strong design with great lore and generally really, really well done.
100%.
The descriptions as well for like the sort of the parts, the name for the parts and the abilities. I think it's a perfect fit. The design was clear from the beginning, and it's very lovely.
100%. How about you, Metal? What are your thoughts on our last entry of this contest?
I'm going to say that a lot of what was just touched on is definitely a lot of the points I wanted to bring up. The fact at the bottom right corner, especially, where it's not giving a warning about other metabots, but directly informing the owner that this thing is actually very dangerous. That's actually pretty cool. The overall design is really neat. I really like how they took this very nunnish concept and combined it with components from various older concepts, a lot of relic motif components, some really cool medieval concepts. I really liked it. It's just really, really strong.
I 100% agree.
It is very strong.
Now, honestly, with this comes the hard part of figuring out 2 runners-up and 1 winner, because we got a lot of really strong contenders here in this contest. It's hard to pick, and this honestly is the hardest part of going over any contest that I host, is just trying to figure out which ones, which ones should be considered the finalists, or even should be winning. Honestly, and I actually have the submissions up on my phone, so I can kind of check them and check them as I go. If I had to pick, and I'll have you guys correct me or give your thoughts on this as well if you want to flip through that chat while I'm looking through them as well. If I have to submit, crunch it down to 3 tops, like before we even decide on winners, just 3 tops that we could absolutely consider as finalists. To me personally, I would have to say, well, actually let's crunch it down to 4, because there's just far too many. I have to say Sweet Crone, Magna Crucis, Queetsy, and Snowy Soul are probably my top 4. If I had to crunch this list down for me of the top 4 that I like before I have to decide on a winner and 2 runners-up. So, what do you guys think on that? So we can kind of crunch down a list and kind of, decide on it.
I think that's pretty good.
It's definitely a tough one this time around. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. So while we were looking at these, I started making like a small list of like my personal favorites as well, and it's very very difficult.
Yeah.
And that list kept changing again and again. Um, I think some of my top four do overlap with yours. If you want to, I can just share and see how you guys feel about that as well, and then
Okay.
maybe we can find some overlap.
Okay.
So in no real particular order, I think Hootsie, Molden, Deluna, and Drawcut are most likely my top four,
Okay.
based on like many factors, but yeah.
Okay. Well, it seems we have a common factor with Huizi already, so it's off to a fairly solid start. But yeah, honestly, like I said, we have a lot of really strong entries this time around. I'm just kind of looking through this list that you put here in our group chat as well, and I agree with most of these. Like they're honestly really strong. How about you, Metal? What are the top four that you can think of? You know, out of the entries that we've had, that you would crunch it down to?
I think I would crunch it down to a combination of Draw Cut, Huitsi, Dalduna, and I'm kind of tied between Snowy Soul and Chrome Fox. But I think at the end, Snowy Soul slightly wins out.
Yeah, it looks like we do have quite a bit of overlap, but I think it's kind of obvious that we all vote very strongly with Huizi with this one. So I think we figured out our winner. Like, I don't even have to argue it. I don't have to come up with any kind of description. I think it's extremely obvious that since we all very easily voted Huizi in our top four, I can't even... I don't think there's anything we could say. I think it's very obvious. What do you guys think?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I'm more than happy to give the number one place to them. Absolutely. Fantastic design.
Yep, I 100% would agree
Absolutely.
on that. I think Huizi absolutely earned that top spot because it made all three of our lists of our top four, and it's just a very creative design. Like I said, it's very creative, well thought out. It makes a lot of solid nods to the mythos that it was pulled from. I really have nothing to say. It speaks for itself. It landed on all four of our tops list very easily. There's just literally nothing more to say on it. So now we just have to figure out two runners up. And there was a couple of overlaps based on what we saw. So if we exclude Huizi, like I said, I had mine for... Let me go back in here and look at the list. Snowy Soul was one of them. Magna Crucis was one. And Sweet Crow. Those are my other three those are my other three choices if we excluded Huizi. So, and I probably missed it or I didn't catch it since we have different lists we're picking from. Were any of those overlaps in any of your lists that you'd consider in like the top four?
I think Metal had Snow Soul.
Okay.
As well.
Yeah, you did say You did say Snowy Soul Metal. I do remember that one.
Yeah, Snowy Soul.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I say Snowy Soul, and I think two of us said Draw Cut. Two of us really liked Draw Cut.
Yeah, I definitely said Draw Cut. So I think, yeah, for me that would be a perfect second runner-up.
So honestly,
or first runner-up.
Honestly, though, the fact that we have a 2 and 2 on both of those also kind of speaks for itself. So I don't think I have to go into any detail or explanation to that either. So just to kind of look through them as well, I'm gonna highlight back over here as well and just go back to start. So what we're thinking of, starting from square one, is we decided Draw Cut was going to be one of our two runners up. I think we're in agreement to that.
Yep.
Because we had 2 votes for Draw Cut. For Draw Cut. We had... Hold on, let me move through the list here. There we go. We had ultimately the winner, Huizi, the number one spot in this contest. Huizi does absolutely nail that top spot. And then we have, close to the tail end, we have Snowy Soul as our second runners up. So, what do you guys think? We strong with those? We strong with those results? We have any questions? Want to talk about it some more, or do you think we're pretty solid?
I personally think we're pretty solid. I hate that we can only pick 3 because just the idea that there's some at the bottom of this list doesn't make any sense. Like, genuinely, all designs were impressive. Like, I loved every single one of them.
I 100% agree. Like, there was just a bunch of really good ones. And I'll admit, initially I was a little bummed because I wanted to see this list just explode. Like we're talking, 20 or 30 big ones. The community just coming together to make just a whole bunch of brand new stuff that I'd have to devote an entire stream just to looking over them all. And I even had a panel of people I had in mind to reach out and ask to help me with that. But honestly, we still got a lot of really strong contenders with the few that we got, and I'm happy. I'm very happy with the choices that we all landed on, and I honestly like the fact that we didn't even have to discuss it. Like, we didn't have to argue or defend with any of them. It was just very obvious. Like, we all had the same kind of thought pattern with which ones that we really liked and which ones had overlap. It just doesn't even have to be argued. So, congratulations one more time to go over them formally. Saskia Sketches, you have officially won first place grand prize with Huitzi with your original design there. And then our other two runners-up will be with Vaucus Mermaid with Drawcut. And then our other runners-up with Zero Mythos is Snowy Soul. So if you guys catch that here on stream, congratulations from all three of us. It was a pleasure to see those. We will get in contact with you as far as the reward prize is concerned. And then Saskia, I will coordinate with you on when I get to working on the personalized art as the grand prize winner on that. But wonderful work all the way around. We're still trying to find a little bit of a balance with how to announce the contest and how often to run them and what we can run as prizes with them through all this as well. But we're gonna try to continually keep the community engaged with them. And this is essentially just a way that we can keep everyone engaged as a whole, because the charm to Medarot, much like we've all said, is you can create a whole bunch of unique stuff. And we want to give you guys that creative outlet. That's the entire reason why we host these, is to give you guys that creative outlet. So even if Imagineer only hosts, say, like, one a year, two maybe if it's a really big year, you guys still have an outlet to come up with your own stuff and post it and let the community see it. That's the entire reason we host those. So, wonderful work. I will announce them formally on the Discord channel as well sometime later today as well. Not too long after we officially go off the air and shut everything down. But kind of continuing on to that does basically cover everything for the 2025 Medarot Day coverage. So, like I said, it was not. I'm not gonna say it was like a super busy, super crazy kind of coverage either on the official channel or here, but I'd say it was very pleasant. We had lots of great discussion, lots of conversation with the community as well. And of course, we had the really big pieces of news from the official channel, and then of course we had our Ori Meta contest here that we all went through. So, what do you guys think?
I honestly think that this year was an amazing stream. So thank you again for having us over. We got good news over from Japan, but I think the real star of the show here was the amazing community coming together and putting some fantastic designs for us to look at. It's honestly fantastic. I'm very happy with being part of it. So thank you so much for having me this year.
Absolutely. It's always a treat to have you guys. Ruben, like I said, you have been here on the workshop floor a number of times, but just as a friendly reminder, and I say this to all of my guests that stop by on the workshop floor, I have an open door policy. If you ever want to coordinate anything at any time, do not hesitate to reach out to me or even ask. We can try to make something happen. Metal, again, this was your first time here on the workshop floor with me, but it was an absolute treat to have you. I would love to coordinate something sometime. Thank you so much, the both of you, for taking time out of your day to enjoy that, to look over all this with me and talk about it. It's always great, and I try to do what I can to just keep the community involved and engaged, and especially because we're all admin team on the Project Rising Beetle Discord. We have a lot more discussions on, things we can coordinate and things we talk about. So it's always great to have you guys, and thank you so much for hanging out with me in my chat once again. Before I do officially say farewell to everybody here, Ruben, do you have anything down the pipeline, anything to talk about, any closing comments?
No, not really. Just please, if you can and you haven't joined yet, go and join us on the Discord, hang out with us, chat with us. We have wonderful conversations about our favorite franchise every single day, and there's some amazing people there working on some really cool things. I'm just happy to be part of this all. So yeah, and once again, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. It's always a treat to have you. How about you, Metal? Anything down the pipeline you're working on or in development? What you want to talk about? Toot your own horn for a while?
Uh, well, first of all, thank you so much for having me on the stream. I think this is actually the first VTuber stream I've ever been on. So it was definitely really enjoyable. It was a blast. It was a time. In terms of myself, I'm gonna say, uh, I am looking at jumping back into Theory Protocol. So if you do like tabletop RPGs and stuff, uh, definitely come back over to our Discord and maybe give it a play, give it a ring. I am planning eventually on releasing the algorithm for it, so you can actually make your own meta parts as well, which is something I really want to do. I've got a few other things down the pipeline as well, and I know a couple other people do too. So, just as Ruben was saying, come by on the Discord. We absolutely would love to have you.
Absolutely.
We really would.
Absolutely. Well, just as a wrapping comment here, just as a reminder, if you'd like to know more, you can follow us below. On Facebook, there is the Medarot News Network page where I do also post all of my updates, all my weekly episodes and such, and the Metabots Forever community that is currently running 51,000 members and still growing by the day. I'm honestly amazed at how massively that community has grown over the last 7.5, almost 8 years actually, that group has been up and running. So I'm honestly amazed at that and how much it's been grown. You can also join us on Discord in the link provided. I do have it in the chat as well if you want to go digging for it. It's the same link that you see here, where you can keep an even closer ear to the ground. So any updates, any news, any contests, my weekly episodes, or anything else the like, that is the first place you will hear it or even get a chance to speak with us directly before it goes anywhere else on the net. We will do our best to keep you guys in the know. That is half the reason Project Rising Beetle exists. And then, of course, you can also speak to me personally if you have any questions on meta news. Isagami Kura on Twitter, Blue Sky, or Discord. Metal Chowman also said that he also has some socials. I will edit the stream description to throw his Twitter link in there as well if you guys want to go give him a follow and support to see what he works on. Lots of dedicated work that's worked on as well. Ruben, I would stick a link for you, but like you said, since you don't have much of an online presence, there's not really a whole lot I can do. But all the same, I do always appreciate the time that you take to hang out with me and, you know, guest here on the workshop floor and everything. But once again, thank you so much for the time that you guys take to hang out with me for a while and talk some shop with Medarot and talk about the coverage and everything. I'm very happy. I think this coverage came out very well done, both on the official channel and here, and I'm so happy that I could share it with you guys. So with that being said, I am going to go ahead and bid you guys farewell. If you don't mind muting and hanging out in the chat for me just a little bit longer when I go off the air, just for some closing comments and everything, I will go ahead and do that. And then I will go ahead and bid you guys farewell. All right, so as far as what I have coming down the pike or anything to work on, not really anything to my knowledge. I do have a couple of streams I'm probably going to start planning and putting down the pipeline coming through in December, you know, now that Medarot Day is over and I can start planning things. And especially with my work situation right now, I have just a little bit more time on my hands than I'd really anticipate or expect. But, you know, it just is what it is. But, of course, I will keep you guys in the know on that. Very likely, and it is kind of obvious that meta news coverage on Tuesday will be talking about the Shin Megami Tensei collaboration, so it will be very exciting to see the news on that and see the breakdowns and what comes out of it. But no, thank you so much, guys, for everything that you have and hanging out with me and my guests for just shy of 3 hours now, talking about Medarot Day and just everything in between. But with all that being said, as always, I do appreciate you all for stopping in, just as you always do. And until next time, this is your host, Kura Isagami of the Medarot News Network, signing out.